'Cause there's bright light inside of you, can't be finished by thoughts so unkind that trace back to your scars. And you don't need anyone to tell you how good it felt. So look deep in your heart and find the strength that I know you have.
that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. Into that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. Into that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. When I get to heaven, gonna wear a robe, no man can hinder me. Gonna see King Jesus sitting on the throne, no man can hinder me. Gonna walk all over those streets of gold, no man can hinder me. No man can hinder me, no man can hinder me. No man can hinder me, no man can hinder me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Right on, King Jesus. No man can hinder me. Right on, King Jesus. Right on, no man can hinder me. No man can hinder me. Right on, King Jesus.
Good morning. Wasn't that awesome? Oh my gosh, that music was just amazing. Thank you, LACC Music Department, students, faculty. That was so, so awesome. Well, we are here, fall. Fall is coming. I like that Game of Thrones. We have a couple of messages from the trustees and the chancellor that we're going to play, and then we will get back into our lineup for our program. So I'm going to share my screen. VP Lancaster is in the house. Just give me a second. I'm managing my tech, so let me share screen. And here, please listen to our message from the Board of Trustees. Oh. Please let me know if you cannot hear or see the video.
Welcome, everybody. As president of the Board of Trustees, it's my absolute privilege to share some comments with you during this opening day. First, I want to thank you all for being here. Your participation in opening day will get the academic year off to a great start. Also, thank you for your hard work and dedication during the past year of service to our students and the public. We've been challenged by so many things during this COVID-19 pandemic. Seems like everything has changed. How we live, work, teach, and learn. Changes in the way we interact with each other, travel, exercise, shop, and so many other ways. But one thing hasn't changed, and that's our desire to help people with their career and higher education goals. That's why we're all here to begin the new academic year. We know this is important. We can see it in the eyes of our students. We can hear it in their voices. Despite all the pandemic hardships, they're here eager to achieve their academic dreams with us. With your help, they'll graduate with degrees and certificates, transfer to four-year schools, and enter the workforce with career training from you. Yes, you make this happen. Each of you has a role in our student success, and you will also have the same important role in the success of the new students who enter your college for the first time in just a few days from now. I also want to let you know that the Board of Trustees considers your safety to be our top priority. We will work with the Chancellor and his team to ensure that we have clean, safe spaces for you and our students. The board has made it clear that we support the district doing everything possible to provide clean air, clean restrooms, classrooms, gyms, libraries, and offices so that you have the peace of mind to concentrate on helping your students. The board recently approved 2 new policies about the safety requirements of wearing masks or facial covering indoors and vaccination and testing. It's important that we all work together on implementing these new policies for the safety of our community. If you haven't done so already, please get vaccinated today. Our leading health public officials all agree that the strongest measure we have against this pandemic is to get vaccinated. The Chancellor will share with you more on this in the next few minutes, but I want you to remember this. During the upcoming academic year, the board will remain active at the state and federal level to ensure that we have the tools, technology, and funding to achieve our mission. Recently, we had a chance to work with state leaders for funding to ensure all Californians can have access to a fast, affordable internet. During the pandemic, many of our students continue to struggle with this issue, but we hope with this legislation we can move forward. We know that closing the internet gap is important, and we know that technology and innovation are key drivers for our economy. Investing now in reliable internet access for all will help the students of today and dramatically enhance our education systems of tomorrow. In closing, I want to say how proud I am of all of you. Your work is so important. You have the power to change lives and improve our world. Your dedication is inspiring, and I wish you great success during the upcoming academic year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that lovely message. And now we're going to listen to the message from our Chancellor. So let me reshare my screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Board President Vettis. Gracias for your welcoming remarks and for your stalwart and principled leadership of the Board of Trustees. Colleagues, welcome. Muy bienvenidos to the Opening Day 2021. The last time I was in this boardroom, I was recording my commencement message. And although the summer months are ending, I'm warmed by those memories of students graduating. Well, today we mark and celebrate in many ways the start of a new academic year. The last 18 months have tested our will, our mettle, certainly our resilience, and our patience. Together, this very large and complex district, known as LACCD, we have worked together to pivot to the challenges fueled by the coronavirus pandemic while maintaining our core mission of serving students in our communities and addressing some pervasive, long-standing racial equity and social justice issues. We have had to confront the twin pandemics of a global health crisis and structural racism. As educator activists, we must be deliberate and purposeful in educating about anti-racism. We must acknowledge that racial equality and social justice shows up in how we build our schools and colleges, what we teach in our classroom, who teaches, how the streets and colleges are policed, and who has access to healthcare and jobs. Each of us, and I mean each of us, plays a critical role in creating, nurturing, and sustaining an organizational culture that can ultimately lead to improving student success and to facilitating meaningful engagement concerning the critical issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. LACCD's framework for racial equity and social justice embodies the values of this organization and directs specific actions and commitments and investments to create the enabling conditions for the colleges and district to actively build anti-racist organizational capacity and resilience and to embrace a more socially and racially just academic community. Our personal and organizational strength, resolve, and resourcefulness has shined beautifully, and I want to take a moment with the Board of Trustees to recognize that. And we'll need that resolve this year to maintain the excellent instruction, whether it is delivered online or in person, and the student support services that our students expect and deserve. We'll need to redouble our outreach efforts to communicate that our doors are wide open. We'll need to retain and graduate the students that have entrusted their education to us. and to significantly restore lost enrollments and capture new markets. So we have some hard work ahead of us, but working together is the hallmark of how this district operates. And the Board of Trustees and I have never been prouder that we have demonstrated this over the last year and a half. Collaboration, commitment, community, instead of conflict, crisis, confusion. I also want to emphasize the comments made by Board President Vettis that the health and safety of our employees and students remains our top priority. As we return to the fall semester, our campuses are safe, teaching and learning and work environments. They are, and we will continue to improve those conditions as the year progresses. We are meeting or going above and beyond health orders for cleaning and sanitization, air filtration, and air purifiers. We also now have a new board policy that requires the use of masking or facial coverings indoors by all, regardless of your vaccination status. This aligns with the county public health orders. And soon we will begin requiring proof of vaccinations or a recent negative COVID test in order to access our colleges and district facilities in person. The science is clear, colleagues. The vaccines remain our best prevention against the spread of the disease and provide the best protection for you, our colleagues, and students, and your families. Stay safe. Indeed, LACCD proud. On behalf of the college presidents, the Board of Trustees, all of the executive staff, and your colleagues at the Educational Services Center, I extend our very best wishes for a great start to the fall semester. Adelante.
Okay, all right, we are back. Thank you, thank you, thank you for those wonderful messages from the trustees and our chancellor. I am my own person over here, so just give me 1 second, and I'm going to reshare my screen again. Share. And then I have to do this real quick. And then I have to do this. Oh dear. Give me 1 second. I apologize. Oh, here it is. All right. And then one more thing. And record to the cloud. And action. Good morning to you all. Welcome back to another year. We are all hoping that we would be back face to face, but here we are. First, a huge thank you to my team and all the players who worked to make this event happen today. Thank you to senior staff and President Gallagher for providing lunch for us today in the quad so we could come together and discuss some great things that were happening today. My name is Naima Payne, AKA Coach Payne. I'm starting my 20th year at LACC, and I'm starting my 3rd year as your professional learning coach. Our theme, rehumanizing our purpose, compassion, clarity, and commitment to equitable education reminds me why I switched from Professor Payne to Coach Payne. I needed to be a different type of instructor for my students to be successful in my courses, to provide them with new skills so they could achieve their educational goals. I'm an educator. The educator that I am today is because of all the professional development that I participated over the years. So as I'm entering my last year of my term, I will continue to provide you all professional learning opportunities to help you grow. Okay, so we have a great lineup for you today. Coming up next, we have our ASG president, Stephanie Stone.
Hi, everybody. My name is actually Stephanie Stone. It is Stephanie Stone. I'm actually the vice president. I'm here on behalf of Eddie, the ASG president. He wasn't able to make it, but that's okay. I'm here in his stead. Now, again, good morning. First, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to join you all this morning. Second, I would like to express my gratitude and appreciation for the ability to represent the student voice amongst you all. Myself and the rest of our excellent ASG members look forward to working with staff and faculty to enrich the lives of our students and serve our community to the best of our abilities. We are hungry for interaction and already have our gears turning to move us forward this semester successfully and enjoyably. I wish you all a comfortable transition back to campus and meaningful connections with students this fall. Please let ASG be a resource for you all as well as your students if there is an aspect of LAC life that deserves advocacy that may be underserved. I'm sorry guys, LACC, our members are dedicated and committed to recognizing the collective mental health crisis as that we have dealt with over the last year and a half, as well as working to ease the difficult changes that it has brought into our lives. Sending warmth, positivity, and strength to all of you as we move into this semester. Thank you all.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much and welcome. I'm not too sure, but my Zoom just went out and I don't know if that happened to anyone else. Next, we have our AFT chapter president, Christine Park.
Good morning, City family. Hope you enjoyed the music from our students and faculty. I know it has been an entire year of challenges and uncertainty. And today, even if we are starting a new school year with perhaps more uncertainties, what we are sure of is that our students are a priority. Personally, this COVID pandemic year turned my life upside down. But instead of continuing the unpleasant and negative COVID thoughts, I am going to shift back my focus towards our students. I would like all of us to focus on creating a safe space for our students, whether in person or remote. Our environment should be surrounded by empathy, and we have responsibilities of being culturally sensitive at all times, offering culturally relevant events and curriculum, and being open-minded with flexibility. All faculty, non-classroom and classroom, adjuncts and full-time, we need to work together on building unity and supporting one another. We need each other more than ever. Department chairs, ensuring that our department faculty and staff are supported and that we are here to listen. All staff members who serve our LACC community, we thank you, especially during the past couple of weeks and throughout the summer when you were here to support our students. I'm excited to continue working with our grievance rep, Nate Lawrence, and our new work environment committee chair, Camille Goulet. For today, maybe even for half a day, let's forget about vents, filters, and cleaning products. Let's enjoy the time with our colleagues, encourage one another, and bring a little sunshine and joy into our hearts. I look forward to our year with hope, positive energy, and good vibes all around. Thank you. Now, please welcome our chapter chair of AFT 1521A, Staff Guild, Natalie Embry.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm so happy to address you all here today. It still doesn't feel real. I'm pretty new to the role, as most of you know. We all know how strained this pandemic has been for our community, and we just really need to focus on continuing to ensure that LACC remains a safe and productive environment for each of us, our coworkers, and our students. Let's commit to continuing to do all that is necessary for the safety of our workplace by going above and beyond with all of our safety protocols on campus and in our community. I'm wishing you all a safe fall semester. And next up, we have Mickey Hong, our Academic Senate President.
Thank you, Natalie. Welcome, LACC faculty. We are finally opening our campus after almost a year and a half. Much has happened since March 2000. There's been immense challenges, losses. However, here we are. When comparing the first time when we were faced with daunting challenges and where we are now, we should be really proud of ourselves for having adopted and innovated in a situation we have never imagined before. Currently, we are among the top in the district in enrollment. In the district academic senate meetings, the question I'm always asked is over and over, LACC leading with enrollment. How did you guys do it? You know we were among the bottom. in enrollment. I don't tell them, but a big part is in our leadership, meeting the demands of the faculty and the students. Also, our faculty, even when we are teaching online, completely contactless, we are able to reach out and make connections with the students. Many things are still uncertain as the pandemic still lingers, but we must continue to strategize and plan for when there are no restrictions. And ultimately, we must accept that there's no returning back to normal, you guys. Only what's improved. There's no normal as we remember it, but it had to get better, and we have to work towards that. And it's my honor to announce the Barbara Vasquez Distinguished Faculty Award winner this year. Wilhelm Vargas of the Law and AJ has 3 theories about his nominee. 1, she has managed to secretly clone herself. 2, she has a twin sister who helps with her work. 3, she has a time machine. It may certainly seem that way with her serving the campus both as the music department chair and the campus union rep. Christine Park has been a rock for all of us during the COVID lockdown, fighting for our rights and safety. She continues to negotiate for all of us, even when there's divided views among faculty about returning to campus. She's caring and passionate about everything, and it is reflected in what she does. And we are all winners in the end due to her hard work. Congratulations, Christine.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. This was kind of unexpected in all sides. Thank you. I don't know how it happened, but thank you, faculty, for your support. And I know that I didn't want to get into all the union parts of it during the opening remarks because we have more to come. And I will be contacting all of you for hopefully brighter future this year. But thank you really for your support. I always try to do my job without expecting anything in return. And that is something that I value throughout my 19 years at City. So thank you very much. Thank you. I'm not good with compliments, so thank you.
Now we have the Board of Trustees, I believe.
Yes, and so we got that message, and so we're moving on the program. And coming up next, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have my program in front of me. Oh, there he is. We have VP Andreassian. Welcome.
Yep. Jesus. Well done. All right. There we go. I am unmuted. Okay, good. Wonderful. And you can see my screen share, correct?
Yes, we could see it. It's not in the play view.
Here we go.
Yes, I can see Alan.
Are we good?
Very good.
All right, perfect. Well, welcome everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Alan Andreassian, the Acting Vice President of Student Services. It is my pleasure to be here today and to share with all of you. I am here to talk a little bit about student services and to also introduce our permanent tenure track faculty that we've recently hired, as well as our permanent classified staff. So I'm excited about that. I wanted to start off with, just going back to some of the principles that the Student Services Department focuses on, which is support, care. We guide students, we ease the transition, we provide exceptional student services to students, and we create community. And those are important things we've done over the last year and a half. We've been doing for a while, and we will continue doing moving into this year. I want, the S in student services, honestly, with the staff and faculty that we've had, has been a superhero on your chest this last year. I want to thank you all for your commitment and dedication. I think back to a year and a half ago, and when asked by the district, they said, how many % can you guys all go online? We said somewhere around 20 or 25%. A week later, they told us we were going home, and we were 100% online. So my hat's off to you, to those that never went home, to those that dropped off things at students' houses, to those that helped out a colleague or faculty member. Thank you. I am beyond grateful for your leadership and dedication. You have you rised at a time where we needed you most, and most of all, our students needed you, and we all turned this college completely remote. So thank you for that. And who would think, a year and a half ago, we would have issues like, unmuting. Oh, wait, we still have those issues. So thank you all. And my first individual that I wanted to introduce is Nikki Dixon, who is our Associate Dean of EOPS in Student Services. She has over 19 years of innovation and student services leadership in the nonprofit sector and higher education. She was the PCC Director of EOPS, CARE, Next Up, and Foster Youth Programs. Ms. Dixon was recently elected to serve as the Region 7 statewide representative of the CCC EOPSA. Don't ask me what that is, but I think it's the head of the EOPS group. Ms. Dixon was the leader in the TRIO, has been a leader in the TRIO community, serving thousands of middle school and high school students as the TRIO Talent Search Director at PCC and at Cal State Northridge. Prior to joining the California Community College System, Ms. Dixon worked at CSUN in the Department of Student Outreach and Recruitment Services for almost 10 years in a number of roles, including Outreach Recruiter, Gear Up Coordinator, and TRIO Talent Search Director. Ms. Dixon received her MPA at Cal State Northridge. Go Vaquero, what are they? I forgot the Vaqueros, right? No, Vaqueros is a
Matadors.
Matadors. Thank you, and thank you. I actually went there for my MPA as well, so thank you, Matadors. Next, we have Charnel Ellis, which is the EOPS tenure track counselor. We're excited to have. Charnel has over 6 years of work experience working in various community colleges, including Antelope Valley College, Bakersfield Community College, San Bernardino Valley College, and most recently, Los Angeles City College. She's received her Master's of Arts degree in psychology from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. During her time working as a counselor, Charnel worked in general counseling, EOPS, Emoja, dual enrollment, inmate reform, transfer center, and has taught in human development, career development, psychology, and educational planning. Ms. Ellis has a passion for working with the underserved and underrepresented students, and was responsible for training and educating adjunct and full-time counselors at Antelope Valley College. Ms. Ellis is passionate about working with students and uses her positive attitude to encourage students to work hard and succeed at career and academic goals that they desire. Charnel is inspired daily by her nonprofit organization aimed at supporting underserved minority students in the community college district. In her free time, which I'm trying to figure out when that is with all of this, Ms. Ellis likes to dance, relax on the beach, and she enjoys spending time with her family and friends. Welcome, Charnel. Jessica Ortiz, a familiar face to LACC, and we're excited to have her as the EOPS tenure track faculty member. Jessica Noriega began her career in the Los Angeles Pierce College in their EOPS office as a student worker. She attended Cal State Northridge and got her undergraduate for undergraduate, and decided to go to Cal Lutheran, where she received her master's degree in counseling and guidance. She continued to work as an adjunct at LAPC and Pasadena City College, and later worked in the MESA program at Ventura College. Jessica has over 10 years of experience working with special programs. She has served our students here at Los Angeles City College as the counselor and director of the TRIO program, TRIO SSS program for the past 5 years. Jessica has contributed to the overall development and improvement of the counseling department, including her volunteer role as the counseling department PeopleSoft mentor. She's also been involved in implementing the counseling department's intern program and has been instrumental in laying the foundation for counseling for future professionals. Ms. Noriega is excited to call LACC her permanent home, and now as an EOPS counselor. Welcome, Jessica. Newly hired, I think it's his first week, is David Turcotte, a native of Long Beach, and David attended Long Beach City College, majoring in applied music and theater before completing his BS degree in business administration at National University. Mr. Turcotte obtained his MS in school counseling at Gwind Mercy University in Philadelphia. Prior to joining the LACC family, David has worked as a community college counselor at LaGuardia Community College in New York, LA Pierce College, and Compton College. David specializes in career development and has a strong background in career and transfer education and guided pathways. Outside of Los Angeles City College, David enjoys playing and performing live music and is also an accomplished concert photographer, having been published in numerous magazines and online periodicals, including the New York Times, Spin, Rolling Stones Online, Tri-State Indie, and others. Welcome, David. Shimei Chow graduated from, she is the administrative assistant to the Dean of Counseling. She graduated from UC Santa Barbara with a major in psych and a minor in education. Ms. Chow has a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, but after getting married, decided to pursue biblical counseling for ministry purposes and find a career in supporting higher education. In her free time, she enjoys writing, calligraphy, hiking, trying new foods, and watching movies with her husband. Welcome, Shimei. Lupe Martinez is our new student services specialist for our Student Basic Needs program, specifically the LA Cares Network is what it's called. You'll hear more about that coming soon. Lupe will be working with the Student Basic Needs team and the Student Services team to support students' needs as well as retention. Ms. Martinez earned her bachelor's degree in social welfare from the University of California, Berkeley, and master's in public administration from the University of California. Fight on. She has been working in education for the past 8 years, serving as a high school teacher, nonprofit case manager, and most recently as the student services specialist for high school outreach, dual enrollment, and international services at West Los Angeles College. Welcome, Lupe. That is our full student services team for our new hires. And at this point, I'd like to introduce the yin to my yang, Dr. Jim Lancaster, Vice President of Academic Affairs. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. If you'll stop sharing, I'll throw my slide deck up, which isn't nearly as nice as yours. All right. First, I had the pleasure of introducing the Outstanding Adjunct Faculty Award winner. This nomination actually came in from a student, and the student cited our winner as one of the most patient, innovative, and hardworking instructors, helping students excel beyond their expectations. After taking several of their classes, the nominator says, our outstanding adjunct faculty member is an exceptional role model and greatly contributed to their success in the music program. So your outstanding adjunct faculty award winner is Carl Kerfoot, out of music, in the music department.
Carl!
Is Carl here? Can we put him up on screen? No, I don't have a photo of him. All right. Just some quick announcements. A lot of what I would say would already been said. I do have an email going out tomorrow with some links and info for the fall semester. I do want to apologize. It was our intent to actually do longevity at the fall convocation, but those of you that actually work in SAP know that getting data out of it is often sometimes difficult. So there's going to be a lot of handwork that has to go with that. So I'm hoping to be able to do longevity at the spring event. So, and we can celebrate all the years that folks have been here and been with the institution. So hopefully we can get all that dialed in and do the handwork that needs to happen for the spring. For those teaching on campus, if you find that you have a need to amplify your voice a little bit, we're ordering some devices that can help. I want to thank Michael Klein out of VAMA for doing some testing for us. So we ordered some. There's one device that actually plugs in if you have a lectern that actually has speakers in the room, a headset, and so you can use the speakers. And another one is just a speaker that'll sit on the tabletop in front of you, and you can have a headset. Other than that, we've also ordered a bunch of these devices that actually fit underneath your mask, and it holds your mask off your face. And you can pick those up. Michelle has a bunch of those in the office. You want to stop by and pick one of those up. It does actually work. It helps to keep the mask from touching your mouth, and you can actually speak a little clearer. So a couple of devices, and if we'll get some, we're ordering from Amazon, so they're here the next day if we happen to run out. So I ordered a few of those for those folks who might need it. Next is soccer is back. Just so everybody's aware, we actually have our first game will be on campus tomorrow at 6 p.m. The men are playing their first game. It's a non-conference game. So we're hoping some folks can show up for that. Once again, 6 p.m. At our stadium. The women are away. They are at College of the Desert tomorrow. So with their game, and they're not on campus, it looks like, until September 10th when they play Norco here. So we'll get the schedule out, but hoping some folks can come out and cheer on our team as we return athletics to LACC. The retention dashboard is up and working. Anna Badalian and her team have done a great job creating dashboards that are very easy to navigate. She's going to put together a video of the training and send that out so folks can take a look at that and sort of see what that's all about, with some great information regarding classroom, by class, by discipline, and so forth, on retention, and also on some of the other stuff like FTE and all those kind of good things. But kudos to the IE team for all the work that they've done to put the dashboards together, and she'll put out a video so that everybody can see that and can take a look at that. It's my pleasure to be able to introduce the new full-time faculty in academic affairs. And so that's what I'm going to spend the majority of the time that I have allotted to do. So first person is Irina Petrovich, hired in nursing. She began full-time with us in the spring 2021 term. Irina has been a psych nurse for over 8 years at the USC Medical Center. She is teaching mental health and pharmacology. She has 2 beautiful children that she and her husband adopted from Poland. Her daughter is 13 and her son is 10. Irina's family is the love of her life. Although she's extremely busy, she is contemplating returning to school for a psych nurse practitioner degree. Irina is looking forward to her second semester at LACC and is excited to help shape future nurses. Next is John Garofalo, or Johnny G, as he says most people call him. He also started with us last spring. Johnny G started his career early doing sound and lighting for theater when he was just 9 years old. Since then, he's earned a bachelor's degree in theater from Boston College, an MFA from UCLA, a kicker MBA from LMU, and additional experience since his 9-year-old time behind the soundboard in projection, lighting, and scene design at iconic venues such as the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts, Disney's Shanghai Resort, and a long list of experience with plays, musicals, and concerts. He was the ideal candidate to hire in technical theater. In addition to his back-of-the-house theater chops, Johnny G plays the banjo should our music department decide to infuse a little bluegrass, or the theater decide to produce the stage version of Deliverance. He lives with his wife, Carly, and 2-year-old son, Valentino, and he hopes one day visit every continent and fly a helicopter. I don't think it's to fly a helicopter to every continent, but those are 2 separate things. Last, should we have a future problem with our underground chilled water lines like we did over the summer, call Dig Alert and throw Johnny G the keys to the backhoe because he can drive them. Welcome, John Garofalo. We also have several new full-time faculty hires starting this fall. The first one is Diane Izachian, was hired in our nursing department. She is no stranger to the district, having completed her associate degree in nursing at LACC prior to obtaining a BSN from WGU and an MSN family nurse practitioner from Walden University. Diane has worked in both intensive care units and urgent care throughout her career. When asked who she most admired, Diane said Scarlett O'Hara. Now, Scarlett questioned where she should go and what she should do. However, Diane has a strong intuition and lives her life knowing everything is happening for the reason. She enjoys cooking and gardening, and when young, really wanted to be a musician. So if you're still interested in that, Johnny G can maybe teach you banjo, and then maybe we can have dueling banjos. Might be sort of cool. Welcome, Diane Izachian. The math department is adding Kayvon Sarvi to their full-time ranks, a recent adjunct freeway flyer bouncing between Rio Hondo, Cerritos College, and LACC. Kayvon has a bachelor's in pure math from Cal State University of Long Beach. Go Dirtbags. Wait, what's pure math? Is there such a thing as contaminated math? Is there contaminated math? Well, I actually think there is. I think they call that Common Core. That's what my kids taught. That was contaminated math. Anyways, in addition to his pure math degree, Kayvon has an MS in applied statistics. So Kayvon, let's chat stock market swing trading after today's event with that applied statistics degree. Kayvon credits his loving, caring, and supportive parents with instilling in him the importance of education and pursuing his dreams. His friends say he's patient, genuine, and naturally funny, something he demonstrates regularly on the LA freeways by smiling and waving at the crazy mad drivers. He currently resides in Pasadena with his girlfriend, Sophie. Kayvon, you're full-time now. You're gonna have to put a ring on that soon. I'm just telling you.
She's
Full-time
asking
now.
me, yeah, she's telling me.
Everyone, please help me welcome Persian foodie and fellow Marvel movie nerd, Kayvon Sarvi.
Thank you.
Next, our modern languages department added a familiar face into its full-time faculty team. Grigor Kutechian has taught part-time in our Japanese program since 2015. In addition to teaching at the nucleus institution of LACC, he taught at several lesser valence ring LA single college districts. An alumni of LACC, he transferred to UCLA, where he earned his BA in Japanese and an MA in East Asian Studies. Just so we're all clear, Grigor is irritated by tardiness, hypocrisy, and people who do not respond to emails or messages, especially after reading them. Please, God, do not let Grigor email me. He's going to be disappointed. When he is not teaching, Grigor loves studying genealogy, his family lineage, and helping others find theirs. A loyal, diligent, and kind person, he is not one to pass up happy hour at Chi-Chi's Pizza and kick back a Long Island iced tea or 3. A self-described problem solver, when the world gives him limes, he makes margaritas. With a goal to build the best Japanese program in California, please welcome Grigor Kutechian. Next, George Martinez, one of our librarian hires, was most recently the student services librarian at CSU Long Beach and served as the liaison to the anthropology and women's gender and sexuality studies departments. Previously, George was the diversity residency librarian at the University of Louisville. And before becoming a librarian, he really wanted to punish himself, so he taught 8th grade and 9th grade English in Salinas, California. George has a master's degrees in library science from the University of Maryland and educational theater from New York University. Outside the confines of the library, George enjoys hiking, exploring museums, and taking in a movie. His bucket list includes traveling to Japan, learning to draw, and learning another language. Grigor, make sure you connect with George. Maybe you can, do the whole Japanese thing there. All right. He's a regular reader of American Libraries Magazine and the New York Times. Last, if you drive a manual, don't worry about George borrowing your car, as he's no Dominic Toretto. Everyone, George Martinez. And last but not least, we added one more librarian this fall. Diego Coagila started at LACC as a library intern prior to going to Occidental College, where he worked as the FYE and student success librarian. He has a BS in psychology from CSULA and an MS in library and information science from San Jose State University. He is a son of immigrant parents who he admires for their sacrifice to give him and his siblings the opportunity to grow up in the US. An avid bike rider, Diego enjoys weekend rides through the Los Angeles River bike path and one day hopes to ride his bike coast to coast. Family and friends describe him as generous, thoughtful, and outgoing, and he hopes he is most remembered for being a dependable friend. Diego has a passion for improving affordable housing and in habitat restoration throughout the city. Please welcome our second curator of the sacred texts, Diego Coagila. And that is the new full-time faculty in academic affairs. Please help me welcome them one more time with a round of applause, thumbs up, or a little emoji celebration icon. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Mary Gallagher, our president, for her State of the College remarks.
Hi, everybody. Oh my goodness, isn't Jim Lancaster such a hard act to follow? But he does entertain us, doesn't he? So thank you to everyone who has been here this morning to share what's happening around our great college. So good morning, everybody. Welcome everyone this morning to our fall annual faculty and staff convocation and faculty symposium. I'm Dr. Mary Gallagher, although I've never delivered a baby, and I remain your very proud college president. Before I start with my formal remarks this morning, I want to introduce you to two new members of our administrative team that you have not met yet. Our new interim vice president of economic and social mobility innovation, Marcy Drummond. is going to say a few words.
Thank you, Mary, and welcome everybody. And I'm so thrilled to be here at LA City College. And I just want to thank everybody who's given me such a nice, warm welcome, and the teamwork that everybody's provided in the last couple of weeks as we're onboarding. I've been a fan of Los Angeles City College for a long time because of your signature programs, the focus on excellence, and the real commitment that you have to student success. And most recently, all of the efforts you've done to really provide support to students more holistically, both inside and outside of the classroom, as well as in their personal lives. And so one of the things we're really focused on in the last couple of weeks and getting launched is really focusing on integrating and expanding essential resources and supportive services to students. And there are two things I'd just like to mention this morning about that effort. First is we're launching the City Cares Network, which is really about integrating all of the support services and resources available to students. We'll be opening an actual hub for the City Cares Network. It's in the student lounge on the second floor of the Student Union building. And also we've launched a resource request form so that students don't have to go hunting for different resources here and there. There's one online request form that they will fill out, and then the resources will be brought to them. Today, an email will go out to all faculty asking you to put an announcement on your syllabi and in your Canvas shell around how to access that resource request form, along with a QR code. So there'll be a link as well as a QR code. And so we really appreciate your support in doing that and getting the word out to students about that request form. The other thing you'll be hearing about that's being launched is something called the Fresh Success Program. What it does is it combines food assistance to students through the CalFresh program with additional resources and supportive services that help them stay in college and succeed in college, including textbooks, materials and supplies, it covers transportation costs. There are some emergency housing available through that, as well as fees and courses and software that are required for courses can be covered. So the Fresh Success Program is really an integral part of getting the City Cares Network off the ground. And again, we'll be sending out more information about the Fresh Success Program. But all of these resources, again, can be requested by students through the online resource request form. So be on the lookout for that email today. And we appreciate your support and looking forward to working together in the start of the fall semester with all of you.
Thank you, Marcy. And next, I'd like to introduce you to our new Associate Vice President, Michael Pasquale, and he's just going to do a hello real quickly to all of you. Michael?
Thank you very much, President Gallagher. I wasn't really ready for anything that I prepared. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to introduce myself. It is my honor and privilege to be joining the LA City College family. Everybody has been very welcoming to me. I'm just a little bit about myself. I'm a first generation immigrant. I was born in the Philippines. I've come full circle. I've told people that when we first came here in the early 80s, we lived on Bermendo Street in an apartment facing the Scientology campus over there. So I've come full circle from the early 80s to now. It took me to my journey here at LA City College. So our job here at the Administrative Services is to provide quality customer service. And I want to emphasize that as I fulfill this role as the Associate Vice President of Administrative Services. So we want to be welcoming, we want to be helpful, we want to communicate, and if there's any type of assistance, information that any of the campus constituencies need, we are here to help. And thank you very much for welcoming me.
Thank you, Michael. All right. So now let me launch into my update to you and let you know what's happening here at LA City College. As I mentioned last year, each year when I prepare my remarks to welcome everyone on this really special day, I look at my speech from the year before to see what has changed from the prior year. Well, last year I joked about all of these first because we had been home for 6 months when we came back for the virtual welcome back. And I talked about, just having to take a shower early in the morning, fix the back of my hair, not just the front of my hair, and all of those good things. Little did I know that we would be on Zoom again this year. I never imagined, and I'm certain many of you out there never imagined, that we would be in this Zoom environment for as long as we've been. Well, it's going to be a little longer, no doubt, but as we went through the year, this last year, we asked you to do more. We asked you to give more time, to give more energy, to give more help, far and above what you had done the year before. And we're all exhausted from this, but some of you were probably able to take some time away this summer, and that's really, really good. And some of you were probably able to get together with some people that you hadn't seen for over a year. So it's been a great time for me these last several months to see people that I hadn't seen for kind of honestly what seemed like an eternity. I mean, it had been a year, but a little over a year, but it's just so good to see people. And even though we're not doing a lot of interactions, it's just tremendous not to just see people on Zoom. And I really can't express enough my gratitude to all of you for the work that you continue to do to help our students to be successful, even through this pandemic. Thinking back on the past year, we really don't have a lot of unusual highlights to really talk about institution-wide, but we do have a lot to be proud of and to be thankful for. I'm really, really proud that we stayed connected to our students. As Mickey said when she was talking, when she goes to the Senate meetings, people are asking, what is City doing? How is City doing this? And that's been happening to all of us when we go to district meetings, because as I've said to you in my remarks the last couple of years, people can't believe what City's doing. But I know that all of us believe what City's doing, because we all have been working together on this. And what I just share with people is we've been working on this before the pandemic hit. So we were already doing many of the things that we continue to do through the pandemic. And actually, we upped our game with our direct outreach to students, but it really has helped them to stay connected. We ended last year with 100% of our headcount. That's just simply remarkable. And our enrollment in the credit program was at 100%, which is so great. That meant we stayed connected with our students and they stayed connected with us. And our enrollment did fall in our non-credit program because we just weren't able to put everything online. The students who access our non-credit program are really, really challenged in many, many ways. And there was just no way that we could put everything online. But we are rebuilding our non-credit program as we speak. And even though our enrollment right now is below 100%, we're very, very pleased with where we are. It's a really, really difficult time. Our students are very, very challenged with reconnecting with us. So it's important that we stay as connected as possible with them and we keep this collective focus on connecting with our students. So we're above 90% in our headcount and we're above 92% in our enrollment. What that means to all of you out there is our students are taking more classes. That's really good because that means that they are looking toward completion. So this is really exciting. And I thank you all out there for this great work. But I want you all to know that I am not stuck in COVID. There will be much work for us ahead to fully recover from this pandemic. So while that recovery began this summer, there's a lot more in front of us. Remember that we believe that we were just about to experience that growth in enrollment in fall of 2020 for the first time in several years. We were enjoying the fruits of our labor with a summer picnic at Griffith Park, Crystal Springs, having a blast, dancing and playing games, having our families there. A bright future was ahead of us as we started to celebrate our 90th anniversary at LACC. But last year at this time, as you all know, there was a very different story. But I am not going to be stuck in COVID. As we maneuver through this semester with the hope of a major reduction in COVID cases, your senior staff is looking ahead. We are out for the VP of Administrative Services replacement that we hope will be in place in January. We're starting classes at Vandy Camp next week for the first time in what I understand to be about a decade. Our partnership with the UCLA Clean Energy Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute is alive and well, and we will begin to offer classes in partnership with UCLA Sesame this fall. We also developed a partnership with the Society for Brain Mapping and Therapeutics, a group of neuroscientists from around the world developing cutting-edge treatments that improve lives. They started a student chapter of the society right here at LACC during COVID. Our partnership with Eon Reality to develop an augmented virtual reality center is alive and well. And we are installing an esports room in Da Vinci Hall that will house one of the largest esports center at any college in the area, 40 seats, several of which will be adaptive stations. When we met with Riot Games over a year ago, I asked them to think about working on adaptive games. Can you imagine students with mobility challenges being able to compete in esports, being able to run faster, jump higher, and winning a competition? Honestly, I'm just getting goosebumps even saying this. It will be so amazing. And you know what else happened during the last year? Da Vinci finally finished. It is all ready to go. Honestly, I know most of you out there thought that construction fence in the quad would never go down. There is not a construction fence in the central quad. And while I am your president, there will not be a construction fence in the central quad. Now, I want you to mark this date down for our semi-annual town hall on budget and facilities. It's going to be held on Tuesday, November 30th at 2 o'clock. So that shouldn't conflict with any meetings because it's a 5th Tuesday in the month of November. Now, I know that's toward the end of the term, but there's a lot of work we're going to be doing during the fall to button up most of our projects. We'll have a lot to show you on November 30th, and I am really excited. So let me tell you what's happening on the bond front. This fall, we're finally going to complete the cafeteria plans and submit them to the Division of State Architect for approval. So that should be in the Division of State Architect for about a year. We'll get a construction firm to go ahead and do the build out. So we're probably about 3 years away from that. But honestly, we're finally going to have food service on our campus again. This fall, we're going to have a design team on board for Cesar Chavez. And while we don't know if we'll finish that by November 30th, we'll be probably a good portion through it. So we'll be able to show you some concepts then. And we should have the theater just about ready to go to DSA by then as well. So we'll be able to show you our beautiful new theater renderings. You'll see updated renderings of the central quad that is planned. It's also planned to have a sculpture garden, similar to what they have at UCLA. So we will have public art available for not only ourselves, but for our community. And you will see the renderings of the South and the North Quad that are spectacular. We've got an underground utility project in the works to replace our old pipes throughout the campus and connect all of the buildings to the central plant that are possible. And the North Quad will see substantial improvements with the stormwater project, sprucing up that open asphalt area. I tell you all, in 5 years, LACC is going to look so different. There's lots of us that will look the same because we're not changing our buildings that we've already redone, but we are going to look very, very different. So I returned to campus myself in January, and it was an adjustment. I mean, honestly, taking a shower early in the morning every day, putting on full makeup every day, fixing myself up, my hair. I mean, I had to fix the back of my hair every day and dressing up again. I admit it was a slow restart for me, but I am back in full swing. The supervisors and administrators returned after spring break, and classified staff are in full force since last week. And of course, our facilities have remained on campus throughout the entire pandemic. You know, our LACC Foundation has been working on a mechanism to expand funding for students who need additional resources just to stay in school. Food, textbooks, transportation, tutoring, mental health, emergency funds. That's just to name a few. There are several more programs as part of that. And Marcy mentioned this, but what happened was the foundation applied for a grant for a new program called Fresh Success through the California Community College Foundation. We were awarded over $2 million to implement this program, and it includes wraparound services for students to keep students in school so they can complete their programs. You'll hear a lot more details about that as Marcy rolls it out. Suffice to say, in our first week, we had over 1,000 applicants for these support services. Honestly, it was a shock to us. We expected maybe 100. We were actually hoping for a cohort of 500 for the fall. Well, we have a lot more need, and we're working really, really hard to get students what they need to stay in school and succeed. So be sure to let your students know what's available. So I saw things go into the chat room, the link to the form. Marcy's going to send something out to put in your syllabus and on your Canvas shell. As more and more information comes out, we'll be sharing that with you, and I'll be sharing it in my Monday morning message. So be on the lookout for additional things for our students. So what your students need to be successful, we want to be able to provide. In January, we decided to present to the largest foundations in Los Angeles one of our big initiatives, the Los Angeles Health Occupation Center that I've mentioned to you a couple of times. We've got a new working title for that now. It's called the Los Angeles Health Occupation Alliance as we further develop the concept. We met with 6 of the largest foundations in Los Angeles. And you know, everyone liked the idea, but no one committed the funding to us right away. So you know your senior staff. By February, we knew there was a lot of money out there for new workforce projects. So we are doing this on our own. We're not going to wait for somebody to come with money to fund us to plan it. We're already in the planning stages of it, and we will likely launch the beginnings of that at Vandy Camp, hopefully by fall of 2022. We also have made contact with the Regional Small Business Administration Director through one of our HUD partners in the LA Promise Zone so that they can help us to put together our business development center that will have a makerspace as well as an opportunity for our locals, not just our students, but our local community entrepreneurs to be able to design and develop and market new products and new services. So that's very exciting for us to be able to put that together. We also expect to develop that concept soon fully and obtain the funding. And finally, as noted when Alan was introducing you to his new faculty, we've brought on a tenure track counselor to put together our career exploratorium. We're also bringing on an additional career counselor to put together, because it's going to take a lot of work for us to do that. And we have the capacity now. So we're going to add another career counselor there who will be permanent tenure track counselors so that our students have the opportunity to determine a career direction, select a program, and study and finish that program as soon as possible and move on to either a job or to transfer. So everybody out there, City is on the move. And we had another good year end. We have a reserve from our 2021 year of about $1.5 million. And I expect another year-end distribution from the district of about $500,000. So we will carry forward approximately $2 million. This is what we had planned to have for our ending balance this year, and we achieved that. We need this actually and more to continue to carry forward in the event that we are not able to recapture our enrollment by June of 2025. Our enrollment in our credit program has remained stable, and our non-credit program is really, really working hard to rebuild because of the struggle with the online program. So we believe that we're on our way and that we will be able to recapture the enrollment, but we need to preserve resources in our general fund just in case, because if we have a correction, we do not want to cut things out of our program because that will have a negative effect on us in the short run and the long run. So this is all good news for us, everybody. Whew. A lot for a pandemic year, isn't it? So what lies ahead for us in the coming year? I have to tell you, we were really not thinking that we would still be in the pandemic at this point. We know a lot more than we did in March of 2020 about how to keep safe, get vaccinated, wear a mask, and keep distance. We are focused on these strategies because we will be keeping the campus open. We need to keep the campus open to our students. No more fence in the central quad. Da Vinci is open. Central plant upgrades will be completed sometime during the semester. We will have bug groups for our projects during fall so we can get as much wrapped up as possible so we can get our projects into DSA and get them out to be constructed. Our classes for fall will be somewhere between 20% and 30% on campus, and the rest will be remote. Winter will likely be largely done in a remote environment. Right now, we're not sure about next spring and summer. Remember, however long this pandemic lasts, it is temporary. We need to begin to plan life after the pandemic. So as we mark the start of our school year today, our work is just beginning. Last year, we pledged to create a Race, Equity, and Social Justice Center at LACC. The steering committee is assembled, and we've had 2 meetings. You will see a calendar of events published soon for the entire year. It will include a variety of activities for faculty, staff, and students, some social activities, some learning activities, some professional development activities, that it will be an opportunity for us to continue to keep coming together to make sure that we are as inclusive as possible and that everyone feels that they belong here at our great institution of LACC. We're actually having a retreat for the steering committee in January to develop a 3-year strategic plan. I'll have town halls as needed throughout the year. I have one for faculty and staff next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. As changes occur over the term, I will schedule town halls to update you. As I indicated earlier, we will have our budget and facilities town hall on November 30th. We expect to have a lot to show you by then. Last year, we didn't have a lot of visits from our famous alumni, and we didn't get to break bread together at Crystal Springs and Griffith Park. Last year, we did not get to celebrate anything in person together. We went through a very rough year. I tell you, I am looking forward to graduation again at the Greek Theater. We already have it reserved. So we are planning for the Greek Theater. But I want to do a shout out to Jen Vaughn and her group for the magnificent graduation we had last year. It was remarkable, it was unique, it was one of the kind, and it was ours. But here is where we are. We believed enough in our students to take the extra time, effort, and energy to stay connected with them, and they responded positively. We achieved a balanced budget for the 4th consecutive year, and we are beginning this year with a balanced budget covering all of our expenses from our general fund for the first time in 7 years. We achieved stable enrollment even through a pandemic. You know, this is my 4th year addressing you at our opening day. I tell people all the time, this is the best job I have ever had. I love being your college president. Believe, achieve, succeed. Here's to a great year. And I think I have a little bit of time to take any questions if anybody has questions, but it might be a little over time. Anybody have any questions? All right, well, remember, we're having a town hall next Tuesday, so bring your questions. Have a great day, everybody, and welcome back. Mwah.
Thank you. Thank you, President Gallagher. Thank you so much, senior staff. We have a change. We have a plan B. So the Zoom link was not functional for the session. So we're going to stay in the main Zoom room for that session. But for the other breakout session, hopefully that link is working. So please go to your oh, Caroline. Oh, President Gallagher, you were going to mention the staff award winner.
And I apologize, Naima. I don't have that name.
Oh, okay. Let me.
You want to private chat me?
Yes. You know what? How about I just share screen?
Yes, let's just share it.
Okay. Let me think about this. Caroline, can you drop that other link in the chat real quick, please? All right, here it is. You know how I am about my sways. Can't stop swaying. Okay, so I'm going to put it on the share screen for you, President Gallagher.
Thank you.
And then there you are.
All right.
It's the green one.
Gotcha. Thank you. Green's my favorite color. That's awesome. Oh my goodness. So we got a nomination for staff member service award for someone who everyone I think knows on the campus. Even if you're new, you probably know who this staff member is. She was nominated by Professor Sarah Cracchiolo Garcia, the department chair for our Communication Studies department. And the person who she nominated as our Staff Excellence Award works in our kinesiology department. And I know you all see her name, but I just have to talk about her a bit because in the kinesiology department, if you go into the North Gym or the South Gym, you are likely to see this employee working tirelessly from morning into the evening to help our students, to help faculty, and to help staff. I think though her nickname is Chuckles, I think her nickname should be the Worker Bee. And it is Tanya Geddes from our kinesiology department. And Tanya is always smiling, always happy to help, always ready to do anything that she can do to help everybody. So is Tanya here today?
No, she's not here.
Because she's working.
Actually, it's emergency for her, but no, she's not here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you. But let's all give Tanya a very, very, very big round of applause. Tanya Geddes, our LACC Staff Excellence Award winner.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, President Gallagher, for that. Okay, we're just a little off schedule. It's okay. We want to be back in the main room at around 11 o'clock because that's where we have our keynote speaker. Mr. Jenkins is going to be speaking with us this afternoon. And remember, at 12:15, there is free lunch at the quad area, so please join us there. So we'll just give you a few minutes so we could transition, and then we will start our breakout session around 10:10. Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Hold on. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to this session with a long, interesting title. My name is Diana Cummins, and I am here from the kinesiology department this morning. I hope you're ready to sort of de-stress at your desk. That was the title of the presentation. And my goal today is to give you some very, very simple, easy tools to use as you're Zooming, because a lot of us are Zooming, myself included. And when we're Zooming, it's sort of, oh, it's joy and delight, right? I mean, it's great we have this way of teaching, but it does take a toll on our body. So I'm going to do something sort of fun today to start. And what's great about this is you're not going to need anything. Your body is what you're going to use to do this. And I hope these things are helpful. Teach them to your family, and you can use them with your students, which is a great thing for going forward. And good morning to all the people who are sending me chat messages. Hi. So what I want you to do, and I'm going to take off my glasses. What I'd like you to do is turn your head to the right. Just turn your head to the right. Do it a couple of times. Just turn and turn and turn. So maybe you've been sitting a while, maybe you've kind of pulled yourself up to sit and look at this new person in the screen, but maybe you noticed as you did that, there's kind of a wall or a barrier to a place where you stop when you turn your head. So let's do it on the other side. So you're turning your head, very easy, just turning your head and turning your head. And you may notice that this side and this side are slightly different. So we're going to do something to change that sensation or that feeling of what happens when you turn your head. And maybe, well, I'm not going to say anything. Let's just try it. So I'm going to ask you to keep your face, your focus in the Zoom screen and let your eyes turn. So one way to do this is to take your finger, put your finger on your chin, and let your eyes look as far as you can to the right and come back. And then eyes again, look to the right. Feel that pull. Maybe you're feeling the muscles in the sides of the eyes, back to the center. One more, eyes turn, not your head. Like you're really trying to see what's ever over here and back to the center. Okay, take a breath. And we're going to start with our eyes. Our eyes are going to start looking to the right. And then as the eyes look, the head follows. And your eyes are going to come back to the screen and your head will follow. Well, I don't know about you, but I noticed that my eyes, let's do it again, my eyes, as they went and my head followed, that all of a sudden that barrier and that wall changed. I could go farther on that side. Should we try the left? Just for fun. So finger on your chin, and if you used one hand, use the other one for this side. So eyes, looking as far as you can. Back to the center. And then again, eyes, look to the left. Feel that pull. Back to the center one more time. Eyes, feel that pull. Almost like it's trying to get your head to go too. Back to the center. And take your hand away. And then let your eyes start that excursion. So eyes. And your face follows. Wow. Eyes back to the screen. And there you go. Let's try it one more time. So eyes and face and eyes and face. Well, I hope, and you can send me a message. I'm going to put my glasses on here. You can send me a message and say, I got it. I felt it. Wow. This is a very simple experience in change. Definitely. Wow. I love this. I love this. You're making my day here. Well, the reason I'm saying all of this and why we're starting with our eyes is because Zoom is two-dimensional. Would you agree? But we are three-dimensional. But if my eyes are pulling me into the screen, because as teachers, we've got these things to say, and our students are there, we're looking into the screen, and we become, yes, we become like we're wearing a mask so that we have this direct focus. And all of that outer exterior periphery kind of shrinks down to what we see right in front of us. And as you notice, turning my head without my eyes, I could do it, but there was some limitation. But when I used my eyes, when I took, you like this? I know it's ridiculous, but toys actually de-stress us, so toys are good. When I'm using my eyes to scan, to look around, to be aware, it opens up not only your neck, but it opens up your shoulders, it opens up the whole body. So we're going to do something else. We're going to use our fingers here. And I'm backing up. By the way, you see my beautiful flow screen in the back? I want you to remember that word, flow, yeah? So take your fingers out in front. And we've moved from our eyes and our head and neck to the fingers out in front. And I want you to send your eyes forward, just as if you were using that direct focus in space. So I'm going to the front. And then I'm going to let my eyes follow this finger. So now I'm going over there and going over there, kind of like what we did before, and I'm coming back in. And then I'm going to do it with the other side. So let your eye follow that finger and back. Still very single pointed. Now let's do both. So eyes going forward and follow. You've got two fingers, two eyes, follow out to the periphery. Now you may be aware that one side you can really see, maybe this one goes back a little farther, but as you bring them in and out, just be aware that the space has changed. Yeah. So maybe we're going to do it kind of on a diagonal because life is not in a straight path, right? So turn to a diagonal and allow the eyes to move along that periphery. So maybe you want to let your eyes scan on this diagonal, which is changing your head and neck, and then come back, change. So you've got this periphery going here, and then let your fingers go and look around your room, wherever you happen to be. So I'm looking, oh, I see something on the wall. Maybe it's a painting, maybe it's a lamp. Maybe I can look on the floor. Look around the space and let your head and your neck follow. Are you breathing? So I'm seeing, don't look for the dust and the cobwebs, just look around. And then maybe start to take your body with it, and maybe you're reaching for something right over there. So I'm looking, I'm locating, I'm going. So there's that single point focus, and then I bring it into me. So I'm changing that distance, in and out and in. And then let your hands just sort of slide and swoop around that space. Maybe they're going down low, maybe they're going up high. So it doesn't have to be big movements. It's just activating arms, shoulders, elbow, wrists, and hands. So the eyes are the primary way, one of the primary ways we visually, or we orient ourselves in space. We orient ourselves in space. We see where we are. And if our focus is always going there, we're being pulled into that screen. Our head sometimes is pulled to the screen. So, right now, got a lot of toys here, that we've got our masks on when we go out. And maybe if you're returning to a class, the rules are masks on. Eyes become even more important. We're connecting with people's eyes, hopefully. We can see, we're trying to kind of see them because we don't have this part of the face. So your eyes are really important, and taking care of your eyes, and also knowing that your eyes are relating to your whole body. Big idea. The body is a whole. When you change one thing, you change everything. So we have a whole body here. When we started turning and looking, and then we used our eyes, we changed one thing, and what happened, okay? So what I'd like us to do, let me change my little notes here. So I want to give you just a little information about words, because I think words are sometimes important, and we are professors. Ergonomics, you've probably heard that word, the study of how we work. And there are lots of toys and tools and chairs and things that you can get, which maybe they're expensive, maybe they're not, but we also have an inner ergonomics, a system in our body to help us perform better, feel better, and studying that inner ergonomic system and noticing how we are seated, how we're working at this screen. Sometimes having access to those free tools can help us feel better as we're doing this. So ergonomics, the study of working. And you may have heard this word proprioception, our awareness of ourselves in space. But there's a new word, and it's become an important word in body land, and it's interoception, or the body's ability to sense ourselves from the inside. This could be muscle tension. We're hungry or we're full. What we need, breathing, our heartbeat. So it's that inner awareness, which is very important. And sometimes as we're sitting here, we lose that connection to the inner awareness. So what I'd like to do is move from eyes and sort of where are we seeing from? I'd like you to take your hands, rub them together just a little bit, and bring your hands up to your ears, cover your ears, but make sure you can still hear me. Cover your ears lightly and notice that the heel of your hand is on your jaw. Your fingers have gone back behind and they're touching the occipital ridge or the temporal bones in back. Now, if you remember from biology, our eyes actually, we see from the back of our heads. So think about that depth of focus you have right there. So if you take your fingers to the back of your head and just kind of wiggle your fingers on the back of your head, maybe do a little scratch, and take your hands away. You can drop your elbows a little bit, but imagine that idea of seeing from the back of your head, which we do. So even within your skull, there's dimension, not 2-dimension, but 3-dimension. And then take your fingers, slide down below the bone, right into the muscles, right there at your neck, and lightly touch. And imagine a bee, a bug, a bird, something has come into your Zoom space. And let your eyes follow. It moves very fast, like a hummingbird. So follow that bug. Let your eyes just follow. They can look anywhere around. Don't worry about what you look like. No one can see. And if you are very aware with your fingers, you may feel those muscles, slight movements in those muscles. Not big, but slight movements. What happens if you look down and up and around? So eyes, if you're feeling this connection, and I invite you to play with this at some other time, even while you're teaching. So eyes are related to your neck. Now take your hands into your neck and start squeezing like a sponge. Yeah. And you can let your head roll around and let your hand slide down and come right into one shoulder and just kind of squeeze that shoulder muscle. Relax, let go. You can turn your head using your eyes. And we're going to squeeze and we're going to hold, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Don't hold too hard. And lift your shoulder up and release it down. Keep squeezing that tissue and lift it up and down and lift it up and down and release and move that shoulder around and let the arm start to move around. And maybe you notice you've got a little more mobility there. What about the other side? Let's go to the other side. So I'm taking a hold of this tissue up here, kind of like a mother animal picks up the scruff of the neck. So I'm squeezing, holding the squeeze. Inhale, lifting it up. Keep squeezing and release down. And squeeze. And down and squeeze. Feel that squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. I know it's tight. And release down. And one more up. And release down, let it go, let it go, let it go. So just awareness, a squeeze and a release. So let's take our arms up. We are going to get to the back. I promise, I promise. And I'd like you to move your arms as if you're going swimming. Easy, easy swimming in that space around you. You can bring your arms up a little higher. You can go down and low. Oh, Natalie, I'm glad you like that one. I just saw a chat. You like that one? That's a good one. The squeeze and release. Now take your elbows to the front and imagine you're walking up a stairway, okay? So your elbows are your feet. Elbows are your feet. And you're just going to walk up. Don't worry about how many stairs. And walk down. And walk up. And walk down. And as you're doing that, you may feel the back, your scapula muscles, your scapula start to engage. And if you're thinking, oh, this is tight, this is hard, back off, do less. Sometimes doing less is doing more. And then walk to your corners. The stairway just opened. So you're walking up to your corners and walk up to your sides and release your arms, circle the shoulders. I'm going to back up a little more. Circle the shoulders. And then bring your hands together, back of the hands together, and open. And stretch your fingers towards the Zoom screen. And imagine you're going out and around like you're swimming. So extending out and around. Noticing that we've moved from the penthouse, this is the penthouse, kind of down into first, second floor. Does not have to be big. Keep your eyes aware. Maybe you want to let your eyes look at what you're doing for a moment. And then extend your arms out and just inner, outer rotation. So inner rotation, notice what happens to the shoulders there. As you bring those arms in, there's a tendency to close the shoulders down. As you rotate, the shoulders can open. So just a little bit of rotation is going to change what's happening in here. And if you're feeling this, that feeling, that sensation is going up to the brain and changing your perception. Yeah. And so release, relax, just let that all kind of focus in. If we do many, many, many things, it's sort of like we lose the opportunity to find one thing and remember that felt good. So let's go back up to the penthouse because we're going down, down, down to the basement, parking garage. So if you do have issues with your shoulder, my suggestion, rotator cuff especially, is do less to do more. So just a little inner, outer work here. You can take that hand to stabilize and you do as much as you can. It's coming from that thumb and that little finger. You could even do this. Yes. So up at the top, and I have my Zoom hair on, don't ask. Up at the top, take your hand right on top of your head. And notice that there's a roundedness there. No matter who we are, there's a roundedness. By the way, I have a friend who visits. Everyone knows Maurice. Maurice has spinal issues. You do not have this spine, but he does have what we need. So the top of your skull, your cranium, you imagine going into your cranium, there is a dome, you know, a dome. So dome number one, top of the penthouse, and then tongue, take your tongue into the roof of your mouth. And you may feel the dome in the roof of your mouth, that rounded feeling. Dome, dome. And then take your finger and come down right to that notch between your two collarbones. Yes, Maurice has a very large head. He's rather extraordinary. Great teaching tool. I recommend teaching tools. So you're right there at the sternal notch. Go inside a little bit. Don't poke a hole in, but go inside. And I want you to swallow. And as you swallow, you may feel a moment of constriction right there. And then it releases. So there's a tightening and a releasing. So dome, dome. Guess what? This is a diaphragm, which has a sense of domeness. And then we're going to come down. So don't forget this one, the dome right at the base of your throat, your esophagus, that tube, and then come down to your ribs, kind of the traditional place of where we think the diaphragm is. So you can take your hands at your floating ribs and let your hands kind of excursion around. So we think about this as the dome, the diaphragm dome. And as you inhale and exhale, there's vertical motion with that dome. You all know this. Remember this from biology. Maybe there's some biology teachers out there. But imagine, take your hands out in space. Here is your diaphragm. As you inhale, that diaphragm goes where? And your lungs and your heart are riding on that diaphragm. They're on top, so that the lungs can expand. So they are on this vertical, and there's a little upward lift. As you exhale, the diaphragm comes up. So try that again. And imagine the lungs, they have weight, yeah? As you inhale, they fill, they're riding that diaphragm. And as you exhale, they come up, yeah? That diaphragm comes up. So dome, 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 dome. Cool, I'm getting someplace. There is a message here. But sometimes what happens with the diaphragm, imagine you're sitting in the Zoom. What happens to your breath? Where are you breathing? Are you breathing with your whole body? Or are you feeling most of the breath coming from the shoulders? Well, we know, because we talked about the eyes, how there's sort of this narrowing of focus. Maybe you stop blinking so your eyes don't get enough moisture. Maybe your breath changes, so you're breathing in a more shallow way so you don't get that full sense of verticality. Oh, more choice. Think about that spine lengthening and shortening like a slinky. So when we limit our breath, the lack of what we need from the breath affects the brain. We get dehydrated. Our brains don't function as well. Taking in information becomes more challenging. We become more stressed. Breath is so important. So let's move from this diaphragm and come down to the pelvic floor. Okay, pelvic floor. Maurice needs to earn his keep here. So pelvic floor, base of the pelvis, tailbone, pubic bone, sitting bone, sitting bone. So if I turn Maurice this way, and all you have to do is rock side to find your two sits bones, which are at the base of your pelvis. If you go forward and back, yeah, you're going towards the pubic bone, the pubic symphysis, and then towards the tailbone. And yes, he's always smiling. He's always smiling. So if you think about a clock, imagine sitting on an old analog clock and going towards 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock along that line. And then sitting bone, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And then go all the way around 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you may notice the muscles of the abdominal core begin to kick in. You don't have to go that far. And then reverse the direction you're going. And then come back to a neutral position. And imagine that your body, as it's on that pelvic clock, it's balanced. Well, guess what? The pelvic floor is like a diamond-shaped diaphragm. As you inhale, there's pressure on that pelvic floor, and it actually widens. As you exhale, the pelvic floor, and you're not aware of this necessarily, but the pelvic floor, the points of the pelvic floor come together because there's a rising on exhale. Inhale, there's a widening at the base. And exhale, there's a drawing together. So let's go back through these diaphragms again, these domes. Penthouse, roof of your mouth, throat, diaphragm, pelvic floor. Okay, now I can't see. You'll be able to see because I'm going to go down to my feet. But what I want you to do, and if you have shoes on, don't worry about it. If you have your socks on, great. I just want you to wiggle your feet. Feet, you know how I mentioned that eyes are, visual sensors? Your feet are sensors as well. The information we get from our feet helps us with balance and stability. We need that. Well, what happens if you're sitting in a Zoom? Are you playing with your feet? Maybe, maybe not. So as you're moving your feet around, here is my foot. Here are the toes. Here's the heel. So stabilize your feet, stabilize your feet. And you can look down at your feet. You can check out your toes. It's okay. But we're going to dome our feet, dome. And all I'm going to ask you to do, and really easily, is take the toes and draw the toes towards your heels. So you'll feel the arches, the soles of your feet engage a little bit and then release, flatten, widen. So here's the foot. So I'm doming, taking my feet in and in. So I feel that doming sensation in the arch of my foot and release. So we're going to inhale. And as you inhale, think of the feet widening that pelvic floor. And as you exhale, draw those feet up, find the dome there, pelvic floor. Just notice that all of these little domes in your body, they actually, believe it or not, if we were to stand up, they align in the interior line of your body, the vertical dimension of your body, north and south, earth and sky. Yeah. So the more active those feet are, the more you can move around. It's okay to adjust the body in the Zoom screen. It's okay to do a little bit of rotation around that spine. I am sure many of you, as you're teaching, you bring your arms up into the conversation with your students. So you're activating your hands, your shoulders, your face, your throat. It's okay to move in the Zoom. And in fact, the more you can move in that Zoom at various times or encourage your students, we're going to take 20-second break and just move. The better off the absorption of information, the better off you feel as a teacher because you're able to recuperate from that exertion of teaching. And your students have a moment kind of okay. Because at a certain place, too much information is, as we know, too much information. So we're going to go a little deeper into these sort of layers of tissue: eyes, ears, jaw, neck, shoulders. I'm going to go into the spine just a little bit. And spine can extend. It can flex. It can do side or lateral flexion, and it can do rotation. And depending upon your body, you have various amounts of extension, expansion in each of these ranges. So just for yourself, you can take your hands down on your thighs and remember that pelvic clock. But what I'd like you to do, and I'm going to turn the screen all the way down to the floor. So you can see all of my toys down here. You can keep your feet alive just a little bit. If you're in your chair, scooch yourself to the edge of your chair so you're really aware of those two sits bones. So if Maurice is going to come into the screen, here he is sitting. So the feet are related to the pelvis. Pelvis is related to that cranium, but along the line of your spine, we have curves. Now, poor Maurice doesn't have these curves, but we're going to feel our own curves. Absolutely be cautious in those rolling chairs. But if you come to the front edge of your chair, you can stabilize your feet on the floor and keep that chair in a good position. If you roll away from the Zoom, I don't want anyone to fall. Okay, so let's take our hands, warm them up just a little bit. And take your hand in the back of your skull and just feel that beautiful design of the back of the skull. And then come into the back of your neck, the back of your neck, your cervical spine. Okay. So the curve of the cervical spine is a slight forward and back direction, forward and back. Okay. Then one hand or the other, whichever is comfortable for you, take that hand back behind at that scapula level, the back of the ribs. So we have a forward curve in our cervical spine, but the thoracic spine, your thorax, your ribs, actually have a backward, slight backward curve. Now we know aging, issues, scoliosis, kyphosis, all of those things, they will affect our spine, but there's more of a backward curve there. And then slide your hands down, kind of above the waist, and notice the lumbar curve, you have more of that forward curve. And then if you take your hands down around your sacrum, the sacred bone, that flat piece of bone, there is a backward curve there. Now, this is a cool fact, and I love cool facts about the body. Take your hand onto your sacrum and take your tongue back into the roof of your mouth and feel that dome. Rub your sacrum. And then take your hand away. The inside of your sacrum has a dome, like the dome in the roof of your mouth. Should I say that again? So your sacrum has an inner dome here, and the tailbone is attached there. Very few people, but they do, have those little coccyx bones that go back. Most of us have the bones that go forward. So our tail, yes, you have a tail, 5 bones. Our tail has more of, it comes at the end of that sacral curve there. But if you think about it, animals have tails. We are creatures as well. We have a tail. It's just very small. Sitting, what happens to your tailbone? Where does it go? Does it tuck under? Do you deepen and drop into that curve? That's a lot of weight on that area of the body. And you may notice, you can try this, be careful, but if you drop into that curve at the back of your body, notice what happens to your whole spine. There's kind of a sinking sensation as you inhale, because I know a lot of us, we try and stretch, but this area starts to feel a little restricted. Yeah. Find yourself back on those sitting bones. Slide your hands forward as if you're going kind of into a sphinx position. Do a little press down on your arms, and let the front of the body go up and forward and then release back. So kind of like you're rolling through the curves of your spine. Very small, but feel that you're shifting your weight on your sitting bones. Your spine is moving, very small. And notice that your feet, weight is going into your feet. So as I go forward, plant those feet down. Feel the stability from your feet into your body and come up and back. So let that, imagine you had one of these. So imagine that head going up and around and over, just cycling through. Does not have to be big. It's very small, actually, little circles. And then come back onto the sitting bones and let your body side fold. Let this hand come up and release, and a little side fold here. And release and a side fold. Plant those feet. So I'm going, instead of so much from the shoulders, I'm trying to find the sides of the body. Kind of like I'm reaching down to pick up something that's down there on the floor. And I see across the space, crossing that midline of the body, like I'm going to reach over there and get something. And then I'm going to reach over there and get something. Maybe I reach to the side. So I get into a little bit of rotation, spinal twisting, just a little bit. And then take your hands behind your head. We're going to go up over our head and reach your hands back and push forward and back and down and around, up over your head. So we're tracing the spinal curve. So I went over my head, a little forward at the neck, a little back at the ribs, a little forward at the lumbar, back down, up and around. Now, I don't want you to worry about remembering this. So just go along with me, up and over, back and forward and back and down, up and around. Let those shoulders go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Tune into that breath. And you may notice things for you. I notice things for me. We're all different. But has your awareness sort of your body and your space shifted? You feel a little more sense of breath and release? Are you more aware of your feet? Are you more aware of how you're sitting? These are all little indicators of change happening in your body, simply through movement and slowing down and playing. Yes? So I just want to go to some yes, 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 yes. I'm just looking to see. So we're almost at the end. I wanted to give you a little thing to do at your desk here to assist. One of the things, as we know, we're doing a lot of hand things. We've got all of that body that we need to be aware of, but what can I do just sitting at my screen? First thing is obviously to move. Next thing is blinking to get moisture going in your eyes. That's very helpful. Taking your hands and doing those just kind of sensory squeeze and release of body parts. What I'd like you to do is think about, okay, we just did our hands on our thighs, but think about putting your elbows on your desk. Elbows on your desk. So if you're at a desk and you're doing this, go ahead and think of planting your elbows there. And as you push down on your elbows, and I have my invisible desk here, I'm pushing down, I can do a little bit of spinal extension here and release. Pressing the elbows down and lift up and away from that down. So I'm going in opposition here. Elbows down, I lift the front of the chest and release and soften that back. Pressing down, lifting up and soften back. Press down, lifting up and soften back. Release, let those arms go. Any kind of rotation. This is a really great one. Wrist, fingers, all of that. And the last thing I want you to do is take your fingers down to your jaw muscles. Do a little bit of massage here. Relax your face. Inhaling, exhaling. We hold tension here. Think about things that, you know, we want to say, we don't say. We want to speak up, we don't. Tension here goes into tension here, affects the breathing. And here's the biggest one, and the last one I want to leave you with. Take your fingers down to the two corners of your mouth. Are you ready? If I lift the two sides of my mouth, regardless of how I feel, the endorphins, the happy chemicals in the body, go up. Seriously. Which changes your mood, which changes everything and connects everybody. So I had so much fun. I hope you have a great year. My name is Diana Cummins. I teach in the kinesiology department. Thank you, Jeff. It was a pleasure, and I hope this was helpful and meaningful for you, and little tiny things. This is important.
And you all can register to Diana's class. She's teaching Zoom yoga classes.
Hi, Professor. It's Kaya. How are you? Thank you so much.
You're so
research scholar at the Community College Research Center, and a research professor in education and social policy at Teachers College at Columbia University. Roar, Lions, Roar. He co-authored Redesigning America's Community Colleges, A Clearer Path to Student Success, which helped catalyze the entire Guided Pathways college reform movement. I've heard him speak on numerous occasions, and each time I've come away re-energized about Guided Pathways and its primary focus on increasing equity. Today, we will be hearing about Pillar 4, ensuring that students are learning. If you have questions during the presentation or comments, please type them in the chat. So again, it is my true pleasure to welcome to LACC, Davis Jenkins.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. I wish I were there. I'm in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware with my ma at the Delaware shore. The Bidens are living just up the way. They're not here right now, which is why we don't have much traffic. Wish I were in LA. Love LA. Don't know if I could live there, but it just blows my mind every time I'm there how diverse it is. And been talking to Daniel and Anna and other stuff going on at LACCD, and really encouraged by the work you're doing there on equity and student success. I just sat through Diana's ergonomic presentation. I hope I'm not too mellow, man. I got to get jacked up, but my posture is a lot better. Mom, my posture is better now. So as Daniel said, I want to talk about the Pillar 4, which gets short shrift in all this discussion of guided pathways and student success generally. As Daniel mentioned, in 2015, Tom Bailey, Shauna Jaggers, and I published a book called Redesigning America's Community Colleges, in which we argued, which we looked at the question of why, despite tremendous efforts at LACCD and California community colleges and many different types of reforms, we weren't seeing substantial improvements in student success, and we were seeing big gaps in outcomes by race and student income and other factors. And basically, we argued that to improve outcomes and to also narrow equity gaps, we have to rethink the basic model of the college, which developed especially in California in the 1960s, was part of the great effort to expand access to higher ed. And that model, the 1960s model, we called the cafeteria college. It's a bit of a caricature, but there's some truth to it. And argued that colleges need to redesign how they structure their programs and help students get into and through programs in at least 4 ways. They need to clarify the paths to student end goals in terms of employment directly from out of college, transfer in a major, not just transfer to a university, but transfer in the student's area of interest, and then what that will lead to in terms of careers and further education afterwards. We need to help students who come to us really without a sense, in many cases, even of what the options are and what what might be a good fit for them, help them get on a path. And as we found more and more, really connect with a academic and career community. Keep students on the path or help them switch if they either want or need to, hopefully early on, before they've got too many credits that don't apply toward a degree on their transcripts. And then very importantly, ensure students are learning along the path. And I wouldn't say the book was a catalyst, was the reason for so many colleges have developed or are trying to adopt these reforms. I think it has more to do with the fact that community college enrollments have been dropping, and there's greater awareness that discrete efforts, discrete interventions, while important, we need to do more than just work on a specific targeted group of students or a discrete intervention that affects just one part of the student's experience at the college, which is obviously very multifaceted and complex and plays out over a long period of time. So we're closely studying 120 of these colleges nationally, including all of the colleges, all the community colleges in Ohio, Tennessee, Washington State, and 20 some in California, in which we're tracking their adoption using the scale of adoption tool we have, but also looking at their outcomes using student unit record data. And our big finding is that this is a heavy lift. I mean, it's easy to talk about redesigning a college. It's hard to do, and it plays out over a long period. This is from a study we did a couple of years ago about colleges that were early adopters, and many of them took several years. It says here 2+ years. We did that for the foundation funders so as not to freak them out, but really most colleges had been this at 3 to 7 years, not focused on guided pathways, but really the core thing is recognizing that the college creates barriers to student success. I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to the student to, apply themselves and work hard to succeed. But the college puts in place so many barriers to student success. And that's sort of the first realization to reform. And then it takes 3-4 years to implement this process and getting people, everyone at the college on board, obviously faculty, counselors, student services staff, but departmental secretaries, librarians, facilities people really got to be involved and engaged, because even people like facilities people, learning center clerks, et cetera, or not clerks, but assistants, get in touch with are connecting with students. So we've got to get everyone on board. It's a long process. A lot of colleges, and we urge them to start with a mapping process. So you've probably gone through some mapping and organizing programs by meta major, or what we like to think of as academic and learning communities. And those are good steps. But we also found that in many cases, those didn't, they may have improved the website and gotten faculty and others and counselors and others to talk about the student experience, not just in a classroom or not just coming in, but, throughout the whole experience with the college. But those by themselves weren't changing the student experience. And so more and more we have, over the last 2 years, because of the complexity of guided pathways, and also because, and we'll talk about this, the key element of learning was neglected. And this isn't just at LACCD, it's all throughout California, all throughout the country. And we'll talk about this a little bit, why that's the case. But we really focus the work, and have found it useful to focus the work on the onboarding process, the new student experience, and not just the new student experience coming to LACCD, but starting to explore and connect and starting to find their peeps, if you will. And very, very importantly, take courses in a field of interest or on topics related to them, and start to build a sense of confidence in learning that is really important for helping students survive in college, or to persist in college, and then develop a full program plan. And so we've been working with colleges across the country. This summer we had LA. I would have loved to include you, but it was for rural colleges. Last I checked, LA is not the most rural areas, but we had Porterville College, but colleges all over the country, Maine. We had food wars. I got them into like, who has the best barbecue? Of course, LA has the best food, but I didn't tell them that. But we had pecans from Eastern Virginia. This was like a food fight, a national food fight. And since I love food, it was so excellent for me. The Orange Grove people from Central Florida. We had tamales from New Mexico. It was incredible. But we focused them on reimagining the new student experience at scale for all students, all new students, including, by the way, dual enrollment students and students in your non-accredited adult basic education, around these 4 sort of principles, which we simplified, but they're all based strongly on research. We need to be asking students, what are you here for? My mom made me come here. I got to get out of the basement. She said she'll kick me out of the basement if I don't come to college. But what are you good at? What do you like to do? What do you see yourself doing in life? Not necessarily like a specific career, although if they have an idea. But you want to work with people, work with animals. Sometimes it's not that different. Are you good with numbers? Do you like to work on cars? Do you mess around with drones? And then after that, asking, you're interested in drones. You need to go to talk to Professor Wanner, or you need to go to talk. You're interested in working in early childhood education. With kids, you need to go talk to Professor such and such. So asking the students what they're into, connecting them, and then very importantly, in the first term, ensuring that students have a light the fire learning experience. Not a very technical term. This is from Diego Navarro, my colleague who was at Cabrillo College, who worked with seriously disadvantaged or students whose lives have had major trauma, even more than typical community college students. People who've been long-term incarcerated, sex slaves. I mean, just people who've suffered great trauma. And he finds that getting them to become confident learners in college level courses, and not just math and English, he's had great success with this. And so Diego's done this, but all the research on teaching and learning in undergraduate success that suggests that it's not so much what students learn, it's that they become confident and become experienced learners, ideally over time, learners in a field. And then, help students by the end of their first term at least develop a full program plan. Now, I know in California, community colleges are required to develop a plan, but I'm talking about a plan that leads either to a job directly after community college, to a program that leads to a job directly, or transfer with junior standing in a major field of interest. Take a minute to reflect. How did you choose your college major, whether that was a good experience or not? What experience and people were meaningful to you? You can put it in the chat. I can't read the chat right now, but you can just chat out loud or just think to yourself about your own experience. And especially if you came from a family that, you were first in your family or one of the first to go into college, how did you find your way into a program area? So why do we focus on onboarding? Again, we've really focused our guided pathways work, even frankly with more advanced colleges, because we find that they've done meta majors, they've done maps, all of which is great. They've started to reorganize around success teams, excellent. But many of them have started, but they really need to work on this onboarding process. And one reason is that we've done a lot of research, and this is a complicated looking thing from an important study that came out last year that we did in Washington State. But we've done a lot of research showing that students who gain early momentum by earning a substantial number of credits in their college credits in their first year and taking a passing college math and English in their first year are much more likely to complete. And what's significant about this study, which was done by Yu-Xin Lin, Maggie Fay, and John Fink, using more sophisticated methods, was that it showed that early momentum is especially beneficial to Black students, Hispanic students, and low-income students. Other researchers have actually shown it's effective for so-called underprepared students who typically get put into developmental education. And this is actually consistent with research on K-12 education, which especially Hank Levin's work on accelerated schools, where he said, don't remediate, accelerate, by which he meant make sure students who've not had good schooling before have a really strong learning experience. So there's a lot of research showing that students early on getting early momentum and persisting in the first year and into the second is good, but in many community colleges, we find that many students do not. This is LACC's in the dark blue, first-time, full-time student retention from first fall to the second fall, and for part-time students. And in general, nationally, we find that about half of students persist from one to the next, the first year to the second, but most Black students and Native American students and very low income students do not persist to their second year. So, 29% at LACC, well below the national average. And remember, most of your students are part-time. So most of your students aren't coming back the second year. They're not persisting in the second year. And not surprisingly, then after 3 years, only 22% of your first-time full-time students are completing, 7% are transferring out, 18% are still enrolled. And I think we can, if we help them get momentum in their first year, I think in 3 years, including the summers, they could complete. But more than half are 3 years later are not enrolled anywhere, haven't transferred, and don't have any credential. And they're not going to do well in LA, which is a high-tech city. And remember, this is for your first-time full-time students. Most of your students are part-time, and so many of your students are part-time, so the overall numbers are lower. And of course, this plays out, we talk about equity in terms, inequitable outcomes. After 3 years, 83% of Black men and who started LACC and 62% of Black women have nothing. They're no credential and they haven't transferred. So this is really inequitable. And we got to look at what programs students are getting into. This is a map, and I can share this link with you. It's a tool we developed that you can look at your programs and courses. But 38% of the degrees that you guys gave in 2018 and 19 were short-term certificates. 21% were so-called long-term certificates, but many of these were these liberal arts and sciences studies certificates, and 41% were associate degrees. Generally, we find that these certificates, especially the short-term certificates, and even the long-term certificates, don't enable students to get a living wage job, a family supporting job, which we consider to be $17 an hour and up, unless they're connected to a degree path. So I think at some point it's important to look at your certificate programs and make sure, are they leading to degrees or higher level credentials? If you have a credential with certificate and skills training, that's very good because employers are looking for degrees and experience and skills. But many students don't make that. And when we compare your associate degree production, your outcomes in 2018-19 with CSU LA, we see over here in the bottom left that 41% of you are in arts, humanities, communication, this sort of general education, sometimes called interdisciplinary in California, associate degrees, and only 15% are in of the bachelor's degrees that CSU LA gives. So the question is, what is the alignment between the associate degrees and bachelor's degrees, and are students taking the lower division courses they need? And many students come out of California community colleges and LACCD also earning a lot of degrees. The average number of credits, and this is from the statewide dashboard, earned by LACC associate degree graduates is 95. So, we've looked at this, and frankly, it's not, we thought maybe it had to do with DevEd, but frankly, any students who take any substantial numbers of DevEd generally don't graduate. So this is important. Early momentum is important to get students on a path, and not just on a path, but on a path that leads somewhere. Because if it doesn't lead somewhere, what is the motivation for students to finish? If it doesn't lead to either a good job or transfer in a major, what motivation does the student have to finish? And this is obviously of ultimate importance for us because it's key to student success, but we're also been losing students, and we even LACCD, I think, lost students during COVID, but we've been losing students, for a decade. This is your enrollment, your academic year enrollment, and your fall enrollment since. And you can see the trend is downward since around 2012, when the labor market started to improve. You've really lost, and you can afterwards. I'll hand out this tableau. You can look at the trend. You've lost older students. You've been losing traditional age students, which is critical. A lot of those are going to the 4 years, the CSUs. And you've been gaining in under 18. So many of these are dual enrollment students. And very troubling at LACCD, as elsewhere in the country, since 2012, Black students are just like falling off the map in community colleges. This is just for comparison, CSU LA, you can see in that same time period, as with many four-year publics, so community colleges nationally, in California nationally, are losing market share, especially among the traditional college age students to the public regionals. So why focus on onboarding? I didn't even mention that we lose 10 to 40%. It varies depending upon the studies that we've done, but of high school students who graduate and say, I'm going to intend to apply and enroll in LACCD this fall, between 10 and 40% don't even show up. And actually during COVID, as you probably noticed, the number is even higher, which is really troubling. Some of those will come back, but many of them will not. And nearly half of students, or in LACCD's case, more than half of students don't return for year two. Some of them again may return, but delaying education is just bad all around because life happens. Students who gain early momentum in a program are more likely to complete, but most students aren't helped to develop an educational plan, connect with students that clearly leads them to either good job directly after the community college or transfer in a major. And so they're lacking clear motivation. And as we saw, many of them rack up a whole mess of credits that ain't going to apply toward a bachelor's degree in their field of interest. And it tends to be, the students of color and the most disadvantaged students who are going down these swampy ends and earning these degrees with a lot of credits. So this is why we've focused on the reimagining the student onboarding experience through the Ask, Connect, Inspire plan process. All of these things are important. And we think in COVID, well, it's always been Ask, Connect are sort of connected because it's sort of like, what are you interested in? You should go talk to this person. Or we have an orientation for students who are interested in human services. And we'll have employers at that orientation, and we have other students, experienced students, and our faculty you can talk to about, transfer to the CSUs or what kind of jobs you can get, and whether these are your peeps. Maybe not. Maybe they're not your peeps, which is a good thing to find out early on. We can help you find your peeps if those human services folks aren't. So Ask, Connect is important. We think plan is very important. I mean, more and more I'm saying we should not be taking these students' money, certainly the students we serve from low-income families, without having a full program plan. Students love to have a plan. But, and there's, again, a lot of research showing that students on a plan do better. When they can see where this leads, they do better, and it's common sense. But of all these four things, in terms of the research, the most important one is Inspire. Because if you can help students in their first term understand that college learning is different than high school learning, but it's hard, but you know what? I can do it. It's challenging, but it's hard because I have to think for a change. I don't just have to follow rules and do, I really got to think. And that's hard. And, no one likes to do that really, certainly if they haven't been asked to. So if I had to pick any one of these four, if I could only pick one, I'd pick Inspire. And yet it's sort of, the one that we give the least shrift to. So the question is, and I pick inspire based on the research, because if a student is inspired, they can deal with the fact, they can have confidence, they can reach out to people, they can start connecting and networking on their own. And they can, they'll, through that networking, they'll find people like, many students do just by connecting with a faculty member who says, here, I'll help you develop this plan, which happens every day, but it just is happening on a one-off basis. So how inspiring, how can we ensure that every student has a light the fire learning experience in their first term on issues of interest to them? And very importantly, because this is hard to do, what supports do we need to provide faculty to really make this happen? The courses students take during their initial term are so important. My colleague Melinda Karp did this study, which when you think about it, it's sort of common sense, no critique of hers, but it was really great because she showed how the same words, test, study, paper, that a high school teacher uses are very different than what a college professor uses. And so that, and a lot of research on undergraduate education, success in undergraduate, basically stresses a lot of this, and I'll point to some of that research and guides, that you really have to teach students really what college learning is like, because they may well have done well in high school under the high school terms of learning and taking tests and et cetera, but we're asking them to do something different, and we're asking them to think, and again, that's hard. So it also helps build this confidence, which is the key factor, confidence in learning. And I think there's evidence that it's important not just for success in education, but in careers, which isn't surprising, and in life. And it can start to show that this is different than high school. A very important book that I would refer you to, probably I think the most important book on guided pathways since Redesigning. And I will say in Redesigning, the chapter on learning was the one that was based least on CCRC's research. So we in our research hadn't given as much shrift to learning. But Julie Wong, who's a professor at University of Wisconsin-Madison, did this important book called On My Own, in which she looked at students entering community college who are seeking to transfer and get a bachelor's in STEM. This is extremely difficult to do for students because STEM pathways, as you know, generally start as in a university. If you enter a freshman university, a STEM program, you're starting to take STEM courses right away. But in a community college, that can be many years out. There are STEM courses in community college, but students aren't necessarily might be interested in STEM aren't directed to take advanced chemistry and calculus or pre-calculus. Rather, they're maybe, well, you should maybe start with general chemistry, or you know what, you need some dev ed, so you need to go on that. But her research shows a number of things. First of all, she fundamentally rejects, as I do, that these students don't have intrinsic motivation. She also rejects this idea that, that they really are, these students are really working hard and applying themselves. They lack a clear plan. They lack connections to other people. This is the ask, connect, and plan. But the factor that she finds, and she not only tracks students' progression like we do at CCRC through transcripts, but she does very in-depth surveying in which she also gets at least student-reported experience in their class and outside class. She has very sophisticated measures of student experience in the classroom, as well as social capital and other factors outside of class. She finds that the most important factor, especially for students of color and underserved, is an inspiring learning experience in their first term, and what she calls an active learning, where students are really able to, use are required to use their head, supported and think, supported in doing so because it's hard. So really, Julie's research and our research really makes me think that the problem is not so much that students are lacking in basic skills, and it sure as heck isn't that they're lacking skills in decontextualized algebra, or it's that they're lacking confidence as learners, and they're lacking in good teaching. in other words. So, and yet, the experience of many students early on is not terribly inspiring. When we take a look at the first term curriculum for most community college students, I'm not sure if this is from California, but it's very similar. College comp, co-rec math usually, a college success course, and maybe psych, but it's a general survey psych course, not a general psych course taught to really psych you up about psych. So this is a typical, experience of a community college. I would strongly urge you to look at your first-time students, and I'd break them out by program area if you can do that. Look at the courses they're taking early on, and we can provide you a framework to do. But it's easy to just look at the frequency and ask, what is it they're, what's the content of that course? Is it engaging? And I'm not saying that it has to be in their career field. Obviously, if you're in nursing, you're not taking a nursing course, but is the content engaging? Is the pedagogy, is the teaching engaging them in learning? And I'm not just talking about a first year experience course or traditional college of math English course. Those are important. I'm talking about, anatomy and physiology, accounting 101, American Civ 101, Social 101, the 101 courses in program areas. And all of us, I think, have taken deadly 101 survey courses, but we've also, if we're fortunate, been able to take courses that really light our fire for learning. Whether or not we're interested in sociology, I'm not saying, but the course that really got me was a first term freshman course in the sociology. It was a social 101 course taught with a social of religion focus by Robert Wuthnow, who foresaw the rise of the religious right. And he also had us do basic statistics, which I had never done, even though I took advanced math and blah, blah, blah. But this is the kind of learning experience we're talking about. And making sure that students can take these, because often they're constrained in their schedule. And this kind of learning doesn't just happen within the classroom. This is service learning, which is required of all students in at Sinclair Community College who are in the Dayton Promise program, which is a free college program for students coming out. And I don't know if you can see this, but they're color coded by their academic and career community. So each meta major, or whatever you want to call it, these are students and the kinds of experiences they're having in their first term. And these are low-income students, students of color, from Dayton high schools and Dayton area schools who are in the Promise program doing service learning in different fields. And this is part of the connection process, but it's also part of the learning experience, because you see in any kind of outside school that what's valued is using your God-given ability to think. There's lots of research on, I think increasing number of good guides to effective undergraduate teaching and learning. This is one that just came out from the American Psychological Association. This is from the Eberly Center at Carnegie Mellon, which I like because I've used it. It helps really go through, but it's just some basic things that are hard, not easy to do, but give students a sense of where we're trying to go in this course, and then frequent low state, and give students, very importantly, a sense of the kind of work that you expect. This is what I expect. This is what I expect in terms of when I say reading. This is what I expect in terms of a paper. This is the kind of things that we expect. And I will help you, and the tutoring center will help you, and have frequent low stakes check-ins. These are the kinds of research-based principles, which are also common sense principles, that these, and there are others that I can refer you to, and you may know some of these. So why so little focus on this? One reason is that, in fairness, the changes required for the clarifying the path, getting students on the path, especially in terms of advising, keeping them on the path, et cetera, they're formidable and they take time. Also, administrators and people generally in college, I'm not knocking administrators, but they want a quick fix. And they think that through these structural forms like co-requisite and getting student a plan, which are important, can improve completion without improving the core experience of learning in and in some cases outside the classroom. Sometimes faculty, claim academic freedom as an excuse to teach outmoded curricula and teaching practices. Academic freedom is very important, but it's not freedom to teach whatever you want, however you want. And there's this is big in all of us. There's this entrenched mindset that students are not academically prepared, when in fact, the problem is that they haven't experienced good teaching. Now, I will say again, when they do experience good teaching, they won't like it because it's hard. But all of us, I had you reflect on your experience. All of us reflect on a teacher who really demanded a lot of us and we didn't like it necessarily, or even them at the time. And when we look back, we said, that really was important to me. So, I think I see, and I've talked to some of your colleagues, I see that, there's a real focus on equity, and I'm saying, you want to focus on equity, there's a lot you need to do, but equity in teaching early on, equitable, high quality teaching is key. I think we just need to remind our colleagues, our administrators, our chancellor, whatever, I could talk to them or whatever, that Pillar 4 is necessary to improve completion rates. You can do these other things. And indeed, what we see is improvements for students, but it's sort of like by doing co-requisite and these plans and getting better structure, but we're sort of like where we should have been in the first place by not having a plan and putting students into prerequisite dev ed. We're seeing more and more success organizing faculty and teaching faculty and counseling faculty and others in these inquiry teams by meta major, focusing, maybe choosing some courses as a first term course and really working with the faculty in those courses to make them a light the fire learning experience. And I would argue, especially given that in LA, increasingly you need a bachelor's degree for a good job. And you have these ADTs, which unfortunately are they're at least a good structure to begin with, using some of the core courses by program area, by field in the ADTs, and really focusing on them and teaching them in the first course, first term, and helping those students. I can connect you with colleges across the country who have many of these have collective bargaining. People say collective bargaining is an impediment to this. I'm like, no, it's not. It can be, but if you can bring the union and the faculty senate on, they're going to drive it through. They're going to make this happen. This needs to be a key priority for resources because this is not easy. It's easy to say light the fire. It's easy for me to say it, but it is not easy to do, again, especially with students who haven't had an experience of good teaching. So as you continue with your work on student success and guided pathways, whatever you call it, LACCD, I really think these are critical questions for equity and student success. And by the way, retention and enrollment, because we're losing students. And we're losing students early on, and it's not only or even mostly because they lack the resources and their lives are complicated. They do lack resources and their lives are complicated. But no, they've come to you. And as Julie Wong shows, our research shows, these students are motivated. They just need ask, connect, and help with a plan. But most of all, foremost, I'd like you to do all four of those things, but foremost is how can we ensure that all students have a light the fire experience in their first term? And then what do we need to do to help the faculty in those entry courses do this really hard work of helping students who haven't had an inspiring experience make that happen? So Anna said that she would, oh, look, it doesn't, I like,
Yes.
okay, you guys are already ahead of me, it looks like.
Yeah, there's a whole conversation in the chat.
That's good.
There was one question towards the very beginning that was asked by Ronald Kendis. How does this impact math education, some of which is archaic and possibly taught incorrectly?
Oh God, we have focused, I'm a quantitative researcher, so I use mathematics all the time, but the mathematics that I was taught in high school and college, you know, really they were Sputnik era mathematics. And I went to college and graduate school in the 70s and 80s. And we're still teaching the same abstract. So basically, we use Sputnik era algebra, calculus, mathematics in this country to sort by race and class. It has nothing to do with, and then once students get through that, which elite students often get through, elite and privileged students, I should say, get through in high school through AP or sometimes dual enrollment, they can start taking interesting classes and classes where you do real mathematics. And, you know, like in biology or in computer science, there isn't calculus, and bio is more and more statistics. Is primarily statistics. You don't need calculus to do statistics. So we really have to rethink. We talk about equity, but teaching a decades old, irrelevant curriculum and doing it not well, this is not a condemnation of the faculty, because this is the math that we and the damn universities, including my own, want us to teach. And why do they want us to teach it? To sort students so that they can get the most privileged students. So we really have to rethink math. You know, I think our research shows on the whole co-requisite thing and this math pathways thing, our research shows that the co-requisite model works in enabling students to get through college math and English in 1 year. But it works mainly because it gets students out of prerequisite. Not so much the learning support is helpful, but our research suggests, and this was from a paper that Florence Ran and Yushin Lin did, which I can show you, and I actually included in the slides, which you can look at. I didn't show them, but they're at the end. You can see their conclusions. Basically, co-rec works because it helps students avoid prerequisite. And in mathematics, the big effect is enabling students to take mathematics that's relevant to their area of study. But one could also interpret it as it gets students away from having to take abstract algebra. I know that many universities still require, although it's you know, abstract algebra. I was talking to a college recently, Volunteer State in Tennessee. 2 of their universities require abstract algebra, and they're only doing this because, you know, they think it's a sign of rigor. They're trying to screen students. And so what they do is have students take a well-taught statistics course first to get that confidence in learning, and then they take the stinking algebra course and they nail it. They take it as an elective. Now, why is it that we're requiring our you know, least resource students to go through this gauntlet? I'll tell you why. It's because this like redlining, like many other things in our society, in education is really the fundamental way. And there's really good work on this by Pam Bergman, who works out of Berkeley, California, Just Equations. She's a little woman, but man, don't mess with Pam. I used to know because she was my girlfriend previously. She's written some of the most important work and gotten people in quantitative sciences saying we have to stop this madness.
So I'm going to try my best. Forgive me if I don't do this well, but I'm going to try my best to summarize some of the I guess concerns in the chat.
Yeah, good.
There were some that mentioned with this whole guided pathways emphasis on employment, is that truly something that we should do? Basically, there's a concern of focusing just on employment as our way to redesign colleges.
Right. So the funders and the state people want to focus on employment. Students and their families want to focus on employment. But I and my group have sort of departed on this. And what we say is we want students on a plan of study in a field of interest. So like I'll speak for myself as a privileged person, what do we say to our own kids? What do I say to my own kids? They don't listen to me, but maybe they'll listen to Anna. And Anna's kids might listen to me. But we say, whatever you have a passion for, fine, do that. So I don't care if the student is interested in anthropology, or if they want to major in Chicano studies, or whatever, as long as though they have been connected to people in that field and they have a plan and they know what that plan is. We talk, and I'm a fierce defender of the liberal arts, but this general associate degree that we give in community colleges does not prepare students to transfer in liberal arts, English, arts, and humanities. And students ended up getting all these credits. So the funders don't like to hear it, and I get in trouble. We've lost a lot of funding, but what we do say is that the students program really does have to lead either to a job directly or transfer with junior standing in a major. 80% of your students are okay, at least 80% of students, I'm sure this is the case in LACCD and the California community college system, frankly, and every other community college system, but especially California, 80% of your students come in there, you talk to them, they want a bachelor's degree. They think they're going to spend 2 years with you guys and then go on and get another 2, because that's what it says in the catalog. And actually, after 6 years, only 26% of students who start in California community college have actually transferred. And this isn't all on the community colleges, the CSUs and UCs. I don't have to tell you, they often, especially in the high population areas, they don't have incentives to take your students, and certainly not in STEM and business and healthcare and the high remunerative areas. But the bottom line here is that we should help students get a plan, a program, and to master the coursework in a field that they're interested in. And I don't care what that is. And I'm speaking not just, this isn't just my philosophy, this is based on the research. Because all these fields are changing, and people with liberal arts degrees like I do, by mid-career, they catch up with people with technical careers. They're not trying to get every student into engineering and petroleum engineering. On the other hand, if, by the way, our higher ed system is structured, and I'm not laying this just on the community colleges, it's almost impossible for a student from low means to start at a community college and get a bachelor's degree in engineering or biosciences or business from a university. That's a problem too. So I'm more interested in having the student, if the student has a plan, and if it's a 7-year plan to a baccalaureate and they know that, I'm fine. But right now, your students have no plan and they don't know what they're doing, and they're getting very bad advice. And when I talk to students, especially students who've transferred or who have taken 70, 80 credit, 90 credits, they're taking 95 credits, your graduates, on average. And of course, LACCD is serving the least resource students in the region. You got to stop doing that. So the bottom line is the research suggests that the student needs to be on a plan and having mastered the initial coursework in the field that they're interested in. And whatever the foundations and Strata and these other people and chancellor would say, I don't care what it is. That said, employers are looking for degrees plus evidence that you can learn skills plus experience. So just a straight academic degree of the traditional variety is not sufficient unless it incorporates experiential or what I would call project learning. And just about I think every professionalized job, including teaching, is like a project job. You're coming together with different groups, you're doing stuff, you're working out problems that don't have easy solutions. So employers like to see project work. I mentioned, we were talking to the faculty at Sinclair Community College in Ohio, Dayton, Ohio. Their liberal arts faculty have really put a lot of emphasis over the last couple of years in really bumping up the active learning, the engaging learning in their 101 courses. So I remember a social 101 faculty member saying that she was having students do field work in inner city Dayton in their communities and doing some basic statistics. That's what Robert Wethnow had me do in 1970 at Princeton. We can do this. These students, that's what Diego Navarro does with very disadvantaged students, and has shown huge success. So we got to figure out how across disciplines, CTE obviously, but also in the liberal arts and sciences, how we can light the fire for learning for students and follow the basic principles of good teaching, especially teaching students what we expect as college professors.
Thank you so much. I guess there's no harm in ending this early, but on behalf of LA City College, I wanted to thank Davis Jenkins for being here, starting this conversation that we're clearly having in this chat. And
I like the chat much better than my presentation. Sorry, Mom.
So this is greatly appreciated. And then I also want to just plug it in, join my breakout session later. We can continue this conversation. Does anyone else have anything to say? We still have a little bit of time.
I want to come see you guys. I love LA, but I haven't been to LACC in a city college in a couple, maybe 20 years. So I want to come out there and maybe this time next year and see what you guys are doing. I do want to say this is not easy work. I understand the kinds of pressures and all these students being dumped on you, but I mean, this is what we're in this business for. And if we work together and, stop blaming each other and, just working together and do what Anna says, then, we're going to do fine. So I'm really excited by what I hear coming out of LACC and City College, and I want to come there soon and learn what you're up to.
May I suggest something?
Please.
I was wondering if, have you ever thought about maybe provide some incentive for the students to go on? For example, if they complete certain courses every semester, they can get extra credit that can be used towards their curriculum, for example. Think of it as a game. If you're in the first level, you might have to build up certain points to go to the next level. And that maybe the momentum shift that you were talking about, or building momentum, might create that. What do you think about that?
So actually there is good research on backloading financial aid. In other words, not giving it all up front, but really providing more incentive, more aid as the student goes along. There's also, I think, really good policies in certain states regarding transfer that reward the students with cash as well as financial aid by, finishing the community Massachusetts has the Commonwealth commitment that will enable the student to start a community college, transfer to a state university and get a bachelor's degree and do so at a community college tuition, which is much higher than California, but still it's much lower than the public 4 years, and get cash money if you have to see an advisor, you have to have a program plan, you have to pass your associate degree, earn your associate degree in 3 years. And then you get this tuition benefit plus cash, assistance toward your bachelor's degree. I think that's very forward thinking. The problem, and I didn't get the name of the person, I apologize, who asked the question. The problem is that LACCD and throughout community colleges in the countries, we're not offering the students the courses that they need. First of all, we're offering them a bunch of dev ed courses, prerequisite dev ed, that aren't helping them, A. And B, I would again encourage you to look at the courses students are taking. And people often say, well, Davis, you're trying to kill the humanities. And so I'm like, no, humanities courses are precisely the kind of courses that can really engage students in learning if they're well taught. But how many humanities courses are students taking in their first term? And again, you're losing more than half your students early on. So I think given how inexpensive community colleges in California are, it's a good deal economically, but not necessarily educationally, if you can't take the courses you need to progress toward an associate and a bachelor's degree in a field of interest.
Okay, thank you. Next question from David Desenda, sorry.
I love your background, man. What is that?
Unmute yourself, David, sorry. Unmute yourself, David, sorry. Oh, David, you're still muted.
Hold on. Okay.
First, what is the background, David? Man, it looks.
What is the background?
Yeah.
The background. the background is my classroom at Harry Potter's alma mater.
Excellent.
Right.
Got it.
So I teach psychology, and I say there's always a certain magic in psychology. So my question is this. I've become persuaded in the last 2 years that one of the major problems of students I see studying psychology, and I'm going to guess it generalizes pretty much, is that these kids have no concept really how to think critically. It's not just scientific method, but to think generally critically. How do you discern intelligently what you believe, what you don't believe? Talk about vaxxers, anti-vaxxers, all of this stuff. I'm finding that they don't know how to do this because they're lacking basic structures. So my radical idea, and I want you to respond to it if you can, is that one possibility we might be considering is requiring some course on critical thinking, even at a community college, and certainly at four-year colleges. Is that outrageous or?
Well, here's I agree with your premise, and I think there's good reason. And if you look at the secondary, primary and secondary curriculum, California and elsewhere, they're not teaching students how to think. They're just getting them through checking boxes, not requiring them to write, which requires thinking. And if you can write, you can get a job. If you can write and you have a college degree, which is you can do anything. So the thing that I would disagree with you is this idea that we have to have a separate critical thinking course. If you take a look at that guide I wrote from the American Psychological Association, your people, your colleagues, and others, it's all about teaching students to be critical thinkers. And again, this is difficult, but the research suggests that students are going to learn best in a context.
Right.
And teaching, that's why, again, nothing on the math. There's this idea, and again, I may have sounded hard on the math and the composition faculty. I'm not. This is what we've asked you to do. This idea that you learn math, especially the way it's taught in the United States, very abstract. you learn best in the context of a topic that's interesting to you, whether it's Harry Potter or, I learned algebra, even though I went through a very elite education, I took elite, took APs and, I didn't understand what math was. I learned it in high school chemistry from a guy who'd been an industrial chemist. And I learned statistics in Social 101 with Robert Wethnow. And so that doesn't mean we don't need math courses, but we need to teach critical thinking in every course, because that is the most important thing. Having confidence, what I'm trying to say is having confidence as a critical thinker, because active learning is learning. It's really producing knowledge. It's solving problems. It's not one of the problems is that there's this idea that education is, and as teachers, it's not about transfer of knowledge. It's about teaching people how to teach. And the critical thinking is the most important, that and oral written communication. I don't want to always harken back to careerism, and I don't, but when you look at the three competencies that employers want, and there have been many, many studies, and actually a very good study by Tony Carnevale at Georgetown, the top three are always oral and written communication and critical thinking, and then teamwork.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying about.
This is what I'm saying. We have to teach our students aren't stupid. We're just through this, and I'm not blaming the math faculty of English. It's not that we're saying, by taking these damn tests, that these test makers had made tens of stinking millions of dollars. I made a presentation 2 weeks ago with the head of ACT with all these legislatures, and they were like, okay, Davis, don't rip on ACT, but at least ACT got out of the compass. They use these standardized tests, and basically what it does is help privileged people like me and my kids and our kids get through school. But as community college professors and community college people, our task is to do just what you're saying, teach them critical thinking. And you can begin to do this in Psych 101. You'll need support to do it because it's hard. But if you can work in your academic career communities in Psych 101, in Management 101, in Bio 101,
Well, I have 8 students signed up to start next week in the critical thinking and psychology course. So I'm
right
hoping
on.
we'll get more.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think it's critical thinking in psychology. Absolutely. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. But I think this is really the task for you and your colleagues in the different areas that you've developed in the 101 courses, like the one you're teaching. How can we teach students to be critical thinkers? Because if we can do that, man, they're on their way, and the career stuff will take care of itself, as will the education stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a great discussion, Mr. Jenkins. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the food for thought. And hopefully we could carry this conversation on in our department meetings, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And so, that's one of the things of today. We introduced this idea, but we're going to have to really collaborate as a community to tackle some of these, entrenched ways. We're going to need to make some changes. So I appreciate your time, and you're always welcome here at City when we are back and open. So hopefully we'll see you soon. Have a good rest of the afternoon. Yes, thank you. All right, we are officially on break from 1, I think it's 1:15 that the breakout sessions begin. So I know I said in the program that I would keep this Zoom room open for anyone that wanted to engage, but I think we've had a long morning on Zoom. So I am going to close this one out, and then you have your Zoom links, and you also have your department links. And just a friendly reminder that the Zoom is tracking the attendance, but you're still responsible to input this into the Vision Resource Center, and I'll add more information as we come. Enjoy your lunch, enjoy the rest of your day, and have an awesome semester. We're back. Woo!
Thank you.